like
Time to kick it. A fresh local sports talk show about
And it's a hump day. Let's get it cranking. Welcome back to your new midday hang. Annie and Elsten underway on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are a full-strength program once again today. Annie Heilbrunn is in the house. Good morning.
Good morning, Craig. Good morning, Braden. Craig, what's on your mind today? I feel like I ran into you this morning and it's kind of gloomy outside, and you're like, here we are on a Wednesday. It's a hump day.
Here we are.
It's hard to get the energy going sometimes, Just, is there anything that, you want to tell the people?
Not really.
Okay.
I feel like you're setting me up for something, but I'm not sure what
really
it is. I don't know where the fall is.
I really had nothing.
Where's the penny to drop on me here? No, I had a perfectly average evening last night, to tell you the truth.
What did you do?
Had Soccer's Overtime, our weekly show for the San Diego Sockers over on Twitch with me and Tony Sanchez. So enjoyed that. Night walk with the dog, watched some Aztecs until they pulled away, watched Lakers Clippers until the Clippers pulled away, and then sampled a few different shows trying to get something together for Friday, because Friday's Netflix and chill. Now I feel the pressure at this point in the week. If I don't have a teed up show, I got to go find one. I got to go out there. I got to go digging on them virtual streets, try and scare up a recommendation.
And what haven't you watched?
Well, plenty, I guess. Okay. But I mean, I was catching up a Media Melanie recommended True Detective Night Country.
Awesome.
So I've started watching that. I'm on the second episode of that, but I can't go recommend it Friday. She already recommended it. So
these are problems.
Like backup recommendation. I almost can't watch if she recommends it because then I'm taking time anyways.
Yeah. These are the stresses, the pressures that we're feeling on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. I'm not going to be here too. Got salute stuff.
Yeah.
I think Braden's out at some point.
Friday.
Braden's in a wedding.
Braden's out Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Friday.
This is.
Well, I just want to celebrate the time we have.
Yes, that's true.
Right now. The feeling of today's show is kind of like Ha-Sung Kim's last year of the contract. I just want to, whatever time's left, let's enjoy it together. Let's enjoy this show together. You, me, Braden, all together at once. When will it happen again? I don't know. Not this week.
We don't know. Yeah.
Not this week.
Should have been the way we did the season for Juan Soto.
Just celebrating every game.
Should have enjoyed
every game.
Should have enjoyed it while we had
Juan,
it.
thanks for being a Padre.
Right.
Enjoyed our time together with Juan Soto while Matt Waldron strutting game 3 of the season.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now I noticed you're wearing your no Joe.
I am
shirt.
wearing my. That's in honor of your addition to the menu here.
Oh, okay. I will get into that, but I was just going to say you probably also need to wear that on April 9th. Of every year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then find some resident brewing No Joe and drink that as well.
Celebratory.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's best to drink No Joe when No Joe starts, in my opinion. That makes sense. Now, Can I do that at 3 a.m. when Joe starts in Tokyo? In Seoul, pardon me.
Yes, you can.
In mid-March in Seoul.
Yeah.
No, that would be terrible. We have to do a show several hours later.
It's okay. It's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
I will not be drinking at 3 a.m. Coffee, I will have to be drinking at 3 a.m. Are we all we're all actually planning on watching that game live, right?
Absolutely not.
No chance for Braden.
3 a.m. I mean,
it's our job.
It depends how excited I'm going to be at after spring training to watch it live. The thing is, I can watch it after it's over and still watch it before we jump on the air.
Yeah, we're going to watch it.
At 3 a.m? What you want to do a StreamYard watch party? All of us at 3 a.m?
Not really.
No, Braden.
Yeah.
No.
3 a.m.
But we're gonna watch it just
in jammies.
Yeah.
3 a.m. That's my
in our own solitude. Yeah.
Great way to start my 29th trip around the earth.
That's
Been
your
watching
birthday?
March 20th is correct.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So my buddies were like, why don't we just go out before? And then like, we'll come and watch I'm like, dude, I don't like going out to begin with. I'm not a big going out person, but to be, that's a tough call getting up at 3 a.m. See, Craig's used to getting up that early to watch soccer games. I've never had it. Did you get up that early to watch the World Cup or no?
No.
Wow.
No chance.
Not a diehard.
No chance. Listen,
come on, man.
This is one of the things that the people in the community know about me and people outside the community don't know about me. I don't have a European club. I'm not that kind of soccer fan. Like most soccer fans you meet start with, well, I'm Manchester United till I die, or I'm City or Liverpool or whoever, right? All the way down the line. So I'm Spurs, you know, I love to almost win. And I don't. I've always felt the weight of that. Like,
yeah.
Which one? I don't know. None of them have called to me. And now all my soccer friends are all in a tribe of one or the other. So it's like, oh, so now if I go over here, now I'm like telling you that if I go to City and you're a United fan, well, I'm kind of telling you I don't like you, you know, or like we're going to just be on opposites all the time now. So I'm Switzerland when it comes to the Prem. Yeah. And as such, Braden, I feel no compulsion to be at the Harp at 4 a.m. or, you know, be at Shakespeare Pub at 4 a.m. I don't weight myself down with a European club. I'm an American soccer fan.
You don't do it for the World Cup. Wouldn't do it for the World Cup.
I always walk by AJ Cassavell in the press box and enjoy the fact that he's typically got an iPad open that has some.
He's got a lot of soccer.
Yeah, some match going on.
Or Penn State.
Yeah, I appreciate the dedication. That's what I'm trying to say. You did wear this shirt in honor of Joe because Joe brought the vibes yesterday.
What did Joe do?
So Joe hosted a bonfire down at Mission Beach. Now, this was through, it's a pretty cool company. I don't have any affiliation with it. I've never used it. Blue light bonfires, but they build this whole like seating area in the sand for you to have a bonfire and invite your friends. And, you know, they have the fire pit in the middle and then they got a cool setup with the drinks and the food and things like that. So he had there, it looked like quite a few pitchers. And I saw Campusano. It looked like Adrien Morejon, Robert Suarez, I think Tom Cosgrove, perhaps a few of the Yankee pitchers as well. I don't know their faces that well. And I only had a very small snippet of video to go on to stalk, if you will. But I thought, hey, you know what? That is what you like to see. Joe has always been this way. This isn't a new thing for Joe Musgrove, but he's taken it upon himself. He did it last year too, when a lot of the pitchers from the minor leagues were in town, and it was a whole week that he set up through he and Ruben Niebla of workouts, the underwater swimming. They took some trips around San Diego here and there. And that was really like Joe's thing, you know? So he's starting it early again this year. He's getting the guys together. Is it going to ensure that this team has, 50 wins right off the bat? I don't know, but it can't hurt. It can't hurt to get to know your fellow pitchers, make sure that door is open as a veteran. You can come to me. We can talk things out. I can give you my opinion and, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it's good. I think it's good to have that kind of bonding before the season even starts. And probably no one asked him to do this. He just does this on his own. That's who he is.
It occurs to me that Joe Musgrove is kind of the leader of this clubhouse.
He is a leader of this clubhouse. But what I want to point out there is you typically, right, to your point, Craig, you typically don't have a pitcher.
Correct.
Break through to other areas of the clubhouse. And I was thinking about that the other day. Joe's first year in San Diego, it was Manny who was pay the man, keep the man here. It was Manny who was telling the media how great Joe is because Joe infiltrated that kind of line that there is where the pitchers kind of do their things, the position players do their things. People listen to Joe just like they listen to any other leader in that clubhouse. And Joe's just like a natural born leader guy. And you know what's funny about Joe? He doesn't preach. He doesn't go and preach to guys, this is what you should be doing. But if you come to him, he will give you all the information in the world. He will tell you anything you want to know. He'll help you. He'll support you. He'll take you with him. That's what happened with Fernando Tatis Jr. last year when they were doing the underwater workouts. but he doesn't do it in like a very preachy way. Like I'm, do what I do. This is what we should be doing because I do it and I'm successful and all that stuff. No, it's more like if you take the initiative and you go to him, he's going to set you up.
It's just such an interesting dynamic for the San Diego Padres with this current club, because you can look in one direction and say Manny is the leader of this team. And it was a week ago, right? I was wearing my, give Manny the C. And if they actually did something like that, I think it would be instructive and maybe valuable to the clubhouse, giving somebody a C. Now, Joe Musgrove, as we just said, a starting pitcher rarely is given the opportunity even to lead a clubhouse because you're out there 1 out of every 5 days.
Right.
I would say, though, that Clayton Kershaw is a tone setter, or has been a tone setter throughout his Dodgers career, and particularly when he was the man in LA for several years. And I feel like their club took on a lot of his attributes and characteristics in terms of how they handled things. And yet he never was like, I am the leader of the Dodgers. I don't think Joe would ever ask for that. But I do think that last year, this club needed that. They needed somebody who was the pole that everyone could go and, and gather around.
Yeah.
And instead, it really felt like Xander has the personality to be that leader, but he walked into a room with strong personalities and said, hang on, not going to try and big step anyone.
New.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to step on anyone's foot walking in. I'm going to be careful. And then you got Manny, whose general thing is, hey, check out our baseball cards. We're going to be good. Kind of an easygoing, cruising type guy. Maybe not fiery leader inside, at least not that they'll let us know. Then you had Soto, too young to be the leader. Tatis, reputation too damaged to be the leader, but he is the most talented player on the entire team. And I always felt like that was one of those things about the 2023 team. You can't quantify it. Fangraphs can't break it down, in terms of leadership above replacement, but it always felt like it was a whole bunch of jacks looking for a king.
Yeah, I think it was hard too because Joe was injured and there was some complications to start the season with him. But I believe there's multiple leaders in there, and you don't have just like one guy and he is your all, we do what this guy says. Like there's space for multiple leaders. You want just kind of the veterans to embrace some of those roles, and even some of the younger guys that have those qualities. Manny does. In fact, he can absolutely get fire in. He will speak at like the players only meetings. He will do all of that. But I think what you're going for, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's having the ability to have different voices. Some people are going to relate to Manny more. Some people are going to relate to Joe more. Some people are going to, just like when you hear someone tell you advice, you're going to take it better from someone, versus another for no real reason. Maybe you just relate to this person more. Maybe that's just whatever. There's just some reason or another that you kind of have this relationship more, I guess. And maybe just because you're a position player and you're a pitcher and whatever. But I think I know everyone likes to bag on Hosmer, but I think that was also a quality that he had where if you're a young guy and you're afraid, and I'm not saying that this makes up for any poor play on the field, but say that you are not sure what to do and how to act, and do we do this, and what do I do about this? Because there are all these unwritten rules about using facilities, using training rooms, using all this stuff. You want to be able to go to a veteran, and a veteran kind of, take you along the way and say, okay, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. And hey, we're cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it, and then also have the respect of a guy like Manny or Joe or whatever. I'm not saying that that's only Hosmer can do that, but those are the kinds of things that you want where you're able to bridge the gap. You're able to have the respect from the superstars and the veterans, and you're also able, some people, to help along some of the younger guys and the more inexperienced guys. And that's sort of what you're looking at with Joe. With Manny, I think it's a little different because Manny's been through a lot of ups and downs, and he stays calm because he knows he has to. I've been through this enough. I'm gonna get back to form. Baseball's a weird game. Yeah, all that stuff. I got to make sure I'm doing my routine. But I think it's good to have different voices coming in and guys being able to go to them.
It's just fascinating. Every time I hear you talk about Eric Hosmer, my head goes in a little cartwheel. I start I'm a hamster running on the wheel in there, just because we literally still pay him.
Yeah, you can bring him back
this year and next year. This year and next year. And if he was anywheres near a competent major league first baseman based on all these stories of how he unites and how he was the one and how everyone liked to give him that opportunity and, let that be his space. Like, hire him as the clubhouse manager, if nothing else.
Well, I don't know if they let him. I think he just was. And so
Right.
I think now you have to kind of find other ways to bridge the gap maybe between, especially if you're going to start bringing up more younger guys. Like, you want to make sure that your veterans in there, and not saying that they don't have them. I think they do. But to your point, who's got what role, what voice in ushering them along?
Yeah. So, Eric Hosmer is still the worst contract the Padres have given out.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the contract.
And they've given out some bad contracts. And there's a chance for somebody to overtake him as the worst contract that AJ Preller has given out. But the danger whenever you sign someone to an 8-year deal, and it's something no one ever wants to talk about at the start of an 8-year deal, is that the player will literally not make it 8 years in the major leagues, that their career will end before their contract will end. And that is the case with Eric Hosmer, who could be on any team in the major leagues and is not on any team in the major leagues. Any team in the big leagues can pick him up for the major league minimum. They don't have to pay him anything more than $700,000, and the Padres pick up the rest of the freight. Doesn't matter who. And no one signed him after the Cubs let him go. No one signed, why isn't he the Royals player emeritus? Why isn't he there on a retirement contract like Matt Carpenter? So I just feel like this guy wrote a reputation in town. And every time I talk to you and I talk to people that are in the clubhouse a lot, it's like, clearly there was something there. There was something to the way he interacted with the men in the room that they found appealing. And nonetheless, he was so bad that they had to trade they had to attach things to get rid of him at the time, just to get Jay Groom.
I think it's so dependent on the guys you have in your clubhouse. I really think it's like, yes, I understand. I see a few comments in the chat that maybe the whole leadership and everything is overblown. I disagree. I think that when you're going through troubles, you need guys in there that can steady the ship, because it shouldn't and it isn't going to be your manager. And some guys resent a manager that tries to do too much. And again, some guys resent a manager that does too little. I mean, it's think of it, take you and your 50 closest talented, successful friends. You're not all going to agree on everything. It's really a petri dish. It's just everybody's got just different feels and takes on things. But most people, look, at the end of the day, go out there, prepare, do your work, get in there, work hard, play your best. That's all you need to do. Those are your only qualifications. You don't really need to do much else. But does that other stuff hurt? I don't think so. I think that being able to create a comfortable clubhouse, a clubhouse where people feel like things are open, like you do have people that have your back. And again, you got to show it when you get out on the field. Of course, it doesn't just work at a bonfire, but that can help strengthen. Sometimes that's what kind of gets you through the dog days, the days that are just you're slogging through and you don't know if you're going to make the playoffs. So
in search of Padres content, we wound up talking about a Joe Musgrove Instagram post, which is a bonfire.
Well, it's so funny,
which leads us to a leadership discussion.
The bonfire was really the clip was like 5 seconds long.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a little help from someone trying to zoom in on the faces and take, okay, is it this guy? So it's rough times here.
Padres, give us something. Please. We currently have 2 outfielders. 2.
We're talking about bonfires.
We will talk about bonfires. If we need to talk about bonfires, we will.
I was thinking about the survey yesterday and what we were doing off of Dennis Lynn's survey in The Athletic. And just, it's so hard to know what this team is going to be because the roster isn't filled out. And that goes back to the point you just made. Who are the outfielders? Who are the bench guys? Who's the rest of your rotation? We don't know. So that's why I think it's hard to project what's going to happen. This team could absolutely go on and get in the World Series. There's no reason to say that this team shouldn't. It's just hard to visualize anything right now because you don't see a complete roster. And they're gonna obviously have a complete roster.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. You can't.
you
You're
sure?
not gonna go into
Like-
spring training.
Will baseball make them play with 26 guys? They can't play with like 15.
Are they going to sign a bunch of dudes in Korea for those 2 games? You know, like when a MASL team has a flight missing, and they just like, who can show up? Who's got cleats?
The emergency
Like,
goaltender
Exactly.
in hockey.
Exactly.
Some dude that's like a teacher, and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
that looks like they need somebody tonight.
Still got the pads.
That's right.
Still good to
Who
go.
was it? There, you know how there's football guys, NFL guys that like they were working at the supermarket the day, the week before, and now
Yeah.
they're on the field or whatever, and they're like, that's what my dad calls them, the grocery store guys that they then sign.
Kurt Warner.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's Kurt Warner, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No grocery store guys in the
It
big
worked
leagues.
out well for him, but yeah.
If we can find the Korean Kurt Warner working at a grocery store
good.
selling kimchi a couple of days before, and he winds up being our starting left fielder, now that'll be a story. Here's what's coming up on the show today. We've got an exciting show running all the way till 2 o'clock. Last full strength show of the week, and our first Salute to Champions guest as Eric Weddle, pretty much the headliner of the Salute to Champions dinner on February 5th. He'll be our guest to wrap up the show at 1:30. So it's a little bit down the road, but at 1:30 we will have on the former Chargers great, former Utah Ute great, the man who then bounced around hither to yon with the Rams. Be interesting to talk about his time with the Rams. And of course, now he's made San Diego his home.
Yes.
Rancho Bernardo High School's head coach. He's continuing to build back roots in the community. It's great to have Eric Weddle as a part of our sports community here in San Diego County, and he'll be our guest at 1:30. I know you've been working with him closely for this.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think his story is such like a movie. He's just hanging out at Rancho Bernardo High. He's talking to the administration about the new coaching job that he's about to take a year from that point at that time. And defensive coordinator Raheem Morris from the Rams calls and is like, are you in shape? Or are you fat and out of shape? And he's like, I'm in shape, but there's a difference between football shape and I'm running my kids around to practices shape. I'm carpool driver. And he was like, let's go for it. And got his second act, an act that many a player would love to have, and it ended with a Super Bowl ring. So really, really cool what happened with Eric Weddle.
We will talk to Eric to wrap up the show today. We'll have another Hot Stove League, which we're just calling Cold Stove League update. Some warming today, at least like room temperature water in the pot, maybe today on the stove, as the Brewers make a move that definitely impacts the Padres in multiple ways. We will talk about that as we continue, including different thoughts on ways to improve the Padres. We give our gentle suggestions every day. We try to keep this a space of positivity for the San Diego Padres. We try to encourage the front office to maybe make a move, maybe sign a player, how exciting that would be for us to actually get better and do something and, spend some of the money that we have waiting to spend. So today I've got not only a trade for you. Let's make a trade at 12:45, which I'm really not sure of. I just want to get your thoughts on it. But
Sure.
also,
Sure, those will be good.
I've got some thoughts on if we're gonna value spend on the market. Where's a place we could value spend that could actually maybe create tangible gain for the San Diego Padres? We will talk about that as we go along. Hall of Fame now has 3 new members of its class, and I think one that absolutely should have been there and was not. We will talk about that. A lot of stuff to come between here and 2 o'clock. Thanks for making us part of your day. It's your new midday hang. Annie and Elsten, we are here with you till 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
You can listen to every Padres game along with all the music and news that San Diego needs right here on the Odyssey app. Download it today.
I'm Michael Jenkins helping you beat the books with BetQL. Tulane is coming off their biggest win of the season after taking down number 10 Memphis over the weekend, and now the Green Wave head on the road. Texas San Antonio will host Tulane, and the Roadrunners are in a deep slump, having lost 4 straight and 8 out of 10. A Tulane team riding high and a UTSA team struggling means the BetQL 5-star play in college hoops is taking the Green Wave and laying the points on the road. I'm Michael Jenkins. Bet smarter and beat the books with BetQL, and download the BetMGM app today.
January is no time for the same old meals. HelloFresh is here to kickstart 2024 with enticing flavors and fresh ingredients paired with easy-to-follow recipes and delivered to your door. They'll keep your taste buds guessing with their most expansive menu yet. Over 45 delicious recipes to choose from each week. Right now, get free breakfast for life with code RadioBreakfast at HelloFresh.com/RadioBreakfast. That's one free breakfast item per box while subscription is active with code RadioBreakfast at HelloFresh.com/RadioBreakfast.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain in 2024. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees, your shoulder, your back. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body already has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatments has arrived. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetics providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again, get your life back, and listen, it's non-surgical. If this is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on the calendar today. 619-614-PAIN, 619-614-PAIN. Once again, my friends, 619-614-PAIN.
Honor Buick GMC is on the Mile of Cars in National City with new owners and a new way of doing business.
For a very limited time, get clearance prices on Yukons and the state's largest selection of 2500s and 3500s during the Countdown to Clearance sale.
Honor is more than just a word. It's the way we do business at Honor Buick GMC on the Mile of Cars in National City.
Click honorbuickgmc.com to experience the difference today.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're just 2 minutes away from more fun with Annie and Elsten on 97.3 The Fan.
Get a large hot coffee for only $1 when you buy any breakfast sandwich at 7-Eleven with 7 rewards, including the delicious bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. Croissant? Croissant? Croissant. Valid through 2/2024 plus tax. Participating stores only. See app for details.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there, here buck, there buck, everywhere buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-Do.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
From the team that brought you Amy Poehler's Say More with Dr. Sheila comes the comedy podcast, The Chris Chapman Do-Over, starring Ike Barinholtz as controversial shock jock Chris Chapman, who returns to the airwaves after being canceled.
This is your boy, Chris Chapman. My old show was a victim of a little thing called cancel culture, and I vowed to take a long break and really reflect. But I'm here to announce I'm back. Better than ever.
The improvised Chris Chapman Do-Over is an Odyssey and Paper Kite production starring Ike Barinholtz as Chris Chapman. Listen on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Partly sunny and breezy with highs near 63.
Weather brought to you by Daily Harvest. Daily Harvest makes it easy to stick to your goals with food delivered right to your door. Visit daily-harvest.com and use code HARVEST for up to $65 off your first box.
10:29 on The Fan. Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang here on 97.3 The Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station. alongside Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten on hand with you. Braden Suprenant is here as well. Be here till 2 o'clock. That's when Gwen and Chris take over from 2 to 6. Matt Scraby hangs around for an extra hour after that for the Scraby Show from 6 to 7 p.m. And all of our shows live, of course, on 97.3 over the air, but also on the Odyssey app, streaming worldwide, AUDACY, and on YouTube. We've got a live YouTube show. We have a video presence every single day. We have a video chat taking place alongside the screen every day that is right there in our eyes. Great chance to interact with the show. So come on over. And when you do, make sure that you subscribe to the 97.3 The Fan YouTube page, that you like the video that you're on. Adding your comments adds to the ability for other people to see our video when they jump on to the YouTube app. It helps the algorithm, quite simply. So thanks to all of you who are in there every day doing your part to help us out.
I also really wonder what there's this green ball that's always by where I sit. And it's not like a stress ball because it's not.
I was just going to ask.
I'd put that down.
Okay.
Woods uses that thing to stretch a lot of different areas of his body.
I need to find my antibacterial. Woods
Yes.
catches a lot of strays from me. Woods, for some reason.
I'm sure he's wearing socks when it's probably for his plantar fascia right there.
I've seen him use that against the wall for his back.
Okay.
I've seen him use it
Okay.
for his feet without
Okay.
shoes on, which
All
is
right.
how you're supposed to do it. So
I
that's
did.
what
I
that's
picked it
for.
up. I thought,
That's gross,
I'm gonna
Go wash
antibac
your
myself
hands,
now. Yeah. Okay. Well, carry on, guys. Yeah.
That's what that's for, though. He uses it to stretch.
There should be either warning labels inside this studio or at
There really
least
should.
like a partition, like this be woods area. Nothing from here, if not from woods. Something like that. Something, there be dragons in the corner and stinky things.
I wouldn't touch that Pound Town, son.
Poor Woods, though. I just feel like he gets to be the subject of whatever, because he sits in this area.
He sits in that seat,
Right.
yeah.
He sits in the seat. And so he just, catches whatever strays I have firing that day. But he did smell wonderful today. So Hannah, I don't know what's going on, but I gave him a hug. Smelled great.
See,
So.
Craig has grievances with Ben, but he just doesn't say it on air.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with this chair. Ben keeps everything.
That's what he says on
yeah.
air, but off air, Ben. I mean,
That's
Craig
such a
just
lie.
does not stop just complaining about your setup.
Complete lies, lies, calumny,
Lies and slander,
libel, all of it. It's not written. Which one is written? Is libel written or
Yes.
is
Libel? Yeah.
Okay, so
And
no
slander is-
libel, just
right.
slander. If you write it in the chat, it's libel.
It's a lot, though. Yeah. No, this place it's definitely got its interesting quirks. So I'm learning all of them as we go.
Hey, quick moment talking about chemistry and our beloved San Diego Padres. The guy that I'm counting on the most to rev up the 2024 Padres, something Annie just told me last segment, something many players don't want. Manager kind of leading the way, but Mike Shildt leading the way for our San Diego State Aztecs last night, courtside, as the Aztecs use a big second half to beat Wyoming 81-65. Fairly nondescript game. We knew that Wyoming would come in, right, Annie, and try and throw the bag of tricks at San Diego State because they don't have the horses to run with the Aztecs for 40 minutes. And so San Diego State does their thing, misses a bunch of outside shots, trails,
threes, yeah.
Figures out that they just need to clamp down on defense and run the floor. That's what they do. They blow away the Cowboys in the second half. But there was Shildt courtside after our 5 approval ratings yesterday on our survey. Just boom, there he was.
He heard the approval ratings and he's like, let me get out in the community and just ride this wave. I'm sure that's what it was. So there he was, right, courtside. He had kind of on a pink pullover, a salmon colored pullover, if you will. Salmon. They did a little shout out for him on the big screen. He stood up, he waved. There was a lot of cheering for him in there, as there should be, right? A lot of excitement and happiness to see support. Now, this is not going to ensure, again, that team is going to go out and win 90 games, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see.
In Shildt, we trust.
It's just, he wants to support, wants to be around, probably really enjoys what Brian Dutcher is doing over there.
He's a plugged-in guy. Yeah. I just feel like Mike Shildt wants to be San Diego more than previous administrations.
But I don't know that you can get on the other guy. You can't get on Bob Melvin.
I can't, except he's a giant now.
Going to the games.
Except he's a giant now.
Well,
He would have gone to
okay.
the Cal games. That's the difference. Is the only way that Bob Melvin would have been caught dead at Viejas Arena is if Cal was there to play the Aztecs.
But well, see, this is where I get a little, because some guys are they're very private. They don't like to go. Bob Melvin actually doesn't like to go out a lot. He's a private person. You don't see him out in the town, and you just never know. This is why I don't like to get on players for like, what are they doing? What are they not doing? That is un-baseball related or like un-community service related, because you never know. Does a guy have anxiety? Does a guy not want to do this or that? However, again, it was nice.
It was nice.
Yes.
It was nice.
It's cool. It's always cool when you see the local teams support other local teams, especially the ones that always get the support.
Yeah.
Right? Because like the Padres are always going to get the support. They're the major league team in town. So, for them to go out and support all the other events, it's cool. Like when they go to, like when Joe Musgrove goes to the Wave matches and, when they go to the different colleges and stuff, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I agree with Annie. Like I'm not, a lot of people are like, well, where was Bob Melvin? And it's a nothing story. It's a nothing story. Like the reason, like they didn't have success wasn't because Bob Melvin didn't go to an Aztec game. That's absurd.
Give us a signing, Padres. This is what we've been reduced
But
to.
if you're a fan, you enjoy it. If you're a fan,
cool.
you're like, cool,
But
man.
you can't
like,
hold it
yeah.
against the players and coaches that don't do it. They got, know what? Sometimes a lot of those guys do community service not in the limelight because they want it to mean something and don't just do it for a photo op. So, and I'm not saying that's what Mike Shildt did, obviously, but it's like what Peter Seidler used to do. You used to never see him do his great things, and that was the main point of it.
I mean, I'd like to see him as sort of a Zelig of our area. I'd just like to see him pop up everywhere. Like if Max Homa's lining up a putt today somewhere on the North Course. I'd like to just look behind him, and there's Shildt offering some positive advice.
MSan00 in the chat says he met him last year at the Farmers Open.
There
he
you
met
go.
Shildt.
There you go.
And talked to him for a few minutes, so I could see that happening. Actually, though, if we're getting into leadership and relationships, he is a relationship guy. And Mike Shildt likes to build relationships, strengthen relationships. He's one of those guys that believes the more you are talking, communicating, touch points, things like that, the better it is. So you're not wrong. I mean,
I'm all in on Shildt. Shildt everywhere. I put that Shildt on everything.
Oh God.
Boom.
I'm not endorsing that.
Done.
I'm not giving you a sympathy laugh for that.
That was you don't need to. That was so good. It's sailing out in the universe right now, and I can't wait till it hits Jupiter. They're gonna have a laugh. Like, wow, Frank's red hot. There it is.
Craig went home after we talked about it yesterday, and then worked up a bunch of them. That was the best one he came up with, and he could not wait.
I just came up with that right now.
Could not wait.
That was extemporaneous.
Hours of planning in front of the mirror. He could not wait.
All the years of improv led me to that.
My brain for a second was like, don't say that. So for a second, I was like, oh no, where are we going?
San Diego sports, the entire scene. I put that Shildt on everything. I want him everywhere. He is the best. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll truly talk about the best who made it in the Hall of Fame yesterday. 3, and then 2 just missed. 2 just missed. We'll break it all down for you. Annie and Elsten, it's your new midday hang. And home of the best dad jokes on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Like. Did you know you can listen to 97.3 The Fan with your smart speaker? Ask your device to play 97.3 The Fan to give it a shot. I like this, Braden. Lil Mac Miller.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
This one of yours?
No.
No, this is mine.
This is Braden just trying to fill the void that I've left wide open.
That's right.
We were each tasked with bringing our songs to the show. And I literally spent like an entire morning before our first day together, like just
everything
going
was
through,
to a T. Craig sent
like,
the full
all the way through
list,
my catalog.
artist,
What
what
do I
album
want?
it was on,
Music
what
matters
time of
to
the
me.
music. I mean, it's everything.
You also texted us that music is very important to you.
Music
You
is
did
it
say
matters. Music
I
matters to
agree.
me.
It does. I will get my list to Braden.
Sets the tone. Set with the tune, you set the tone.
Hey, Ben Higgins
Yes.
texted us in the break.
Host of Ben and Woods.
Host of Ben and Woods. He said he laughed at that dad
Of
joke.
course he did.
He said
It's Ben.
That's right.
he said I laughed, which is a bad sign. And I
That-
thought to myself,
exactly.
Ben, that is exactly your kind of joke.
That's right.
To a
Ben,
T.
that
You
is
and me,
the
Ben.
joke.
You and me, buddy.
It must be that
I knew.
C.
I knew.
Right.
I
It's
knew we
that
had a
C.
connection that went back decades. I knew it.
That was Ben making the joke. And
We're peas in a pod right here.
Annie
He
and
and I.
I were Paul and Woods rolling their eyes.
Every time you do a dad joke, you should lift Cardboard Ben up.
If you're not
into the
watching on
screen.
YouTube, you're missing the fact that I'm
Do we have
hugging Cardboard Ben, who's right here next to me. He's always my guiding light, right next to me.
Yeah.
Always smiling, always supportive, always reminding
your
me
North Star.
there are funnier jokes. You can think of another one.
I'm sure
Keep
the morning
going.
show has it. Do they have a like generic Ben laugh
deep.
as a drop? Because I might have to just play that every time Craig
That's a
has
good
dad
idea.
joke. Just Ben just going ha ha. Like,
It's a good
super
idea.
dad laugh. Ha ha. That was
Signifies the dad joke.
That's right.
Yeah, feeling good. Nothing can bring me down to that. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Once I put that Shildt on everything, I am set. I can tell everyone I had a good show today, no matter what happens the rest of the way.
Craig reads raps.
I'd be too good at it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah,
too good at
He'd
it.
put way
Okay.
too much. I
Yeah.
do have to say, as corny as Craig's jokes are, he does have. I don't want to pump his ego too much. He does have a little bit more swag than Ben does. No offense, Ben. You could pull it off a little bit
I could
more
pull
than
it
Ben.
off. I could
Yeah.
handle it.
You know how to
I
change.
think I feel that's an insult to Ben.
It
I'm
is
not
kind
sure
of.
why
I feel
Ben
that's
has
why I
to catch your stray
apologize.
right now.
That's why I apologize to Ben, but he's catching the stray. It should be a wrap off between
No, it
Craig
should not
and
be a
Ben.
wrap
Oh,
off.
absolutely. That's must to TV. We'll make it super quick. We'll make it a YouTube Shorts. Put on TikTok.
Oh God!
All the
Don't give
kids
them
will love
ideas.
it.
Don't give. Yeah, Paul Rydell just sent
Woods,
you 3 eye rolls.
Woods, listen to it. Come on, it'd be great.
He sent you a thumbs down and 3 eye rolls, I
Yeah,
believe.
be
So
great.
we'll definitely not do. We'll not do that. Hall of Fame, Braden. You can just tune out for a minute. I know you don't care about this. Annie, Hall of Fame happened yesterday. The announcement by the Grand Old Hall, and no surprise, Adrien Beltre in on his first year. He actually gets the 5th most votes of any third baseman in the history of the game. So pretty incredible for a guy whose career really was about the third act. If you think about it, I mean, I remember very well, I was working at 690 when Beltre came up as a rookie. I literally remember cutting the audio of his first hit off of the Dodgers radio network. If Ben's still listening, he might remember this because it was Rick, because we laughed about it forever. The two of us, like back in the newsroom, laughed about it forever because Rick Monday didn't know Adrien Beltre's name. He was so new.
Yeah.
And Beltre ripped a double. His first major league hit was a double, and he slid into second. And Rick Monday was like, "And congrats on your first major league hit, Beltre." It was Anwar Beltre.
It's like in the spring training games when it's the 8th inning of, game, whatever, and the
Right.
manager has no idea who's out there at that point.
So we called him Beltre for a while. But Adrien Beltre came to the Dodgers as a top prospect. And when you think about prospect hugging, it's guys like this that you think about. Like, what if the Dodgers had traded him for a left-handed reliever a year before he came to the major leagues? Everyone wanted him the year before he came to the major leagues as like a 17-year-old. And he came up and he was okay with the Dodgers. He was pretty good. And then he had one gigantic year that came out of nowhere where he hit 48 home runs after previously he'd been like 15, 20, this, that. And it was right in that time period where you were like, 48 home runs out of nowhere. Where did that come from? And what happened was it was his platform year, a la Snellinger, a la Blake Snell.
Yep.
And he got a gigantic free agent contract with the Seattle Mariners. And he went up to Seattle and wound up being not very good. Pretty much considered an abject disappointment in Seattle while he was there. His defense was immaculate, as it was throughout his entire career. He won 2 Gold Gloves while he was in Seattle, but he really never hit for anything. He went to Boston on a prove-it deal in 2010, and he raked. He hit 321, moved on to Texas, made the next 2 All-Star teams, was a huge part of those Rangers teams that went to back-to-back World Series, finished his career in Texas, continued to hit at age 37, hit 32 homers with 104 RBI, hit 300, 358, 521. If Manny Machado at age 37 can do what Adrien Beltre was able to do, the Padres are going to be in a great position all decade long, because that's 6 years from now. That's 2029 when he'll be 37 years old. Shows you great players can have a really, really long shelf life that goes beyond what they did, in the heart, the quote unquote heart of their career. The heart of Adrien Beltre's career was in Seattle, and it was not a Hall of Fame career. It was everything he did in the 30s that made him that.
It's pretty amazing. He had that longevity. Yeah, listening to Manny talk about him, Manny was on with his brother-in-law Yonder on MLB Network talking about his influence that Adrien Beltre had on him and how they used to model their game and they used to want to be like him and they used to watch him growing up. And so really impressive career, able to withstand some down years, some down times, or just not so great years, and then able to continue to get better. And a big reason also why you look at some of these players that are taking care of their bodies the way that they are, because, Adrien Beltre did it before the technological advancements that are here now existed. And now you kind of have some of these other avenues to allow you to also have some longevity in the league. So really, really cool. I loved all the speeches and everything like that, and just how heartfelt it was and how much it means to these guys.
Now, an exact contrast is Joe Mauer, who is equally a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's rare for a catcher to make it first year as a Hall of Fame, someone who makes it through and gets the 75%. But Joe Mauer's career is the opposite of Adrien Beltre's. All of his Hall of Fame work happened by the time he was 30 years old. By the time he was 30 years old, Joe Mauer had been in the All-Star game 6 times. He had won league MVP. He had won Silver Slugger 5 times. He'd received MVP votes in 5 different seasons, led the league in Triple Crown in 2009, 365, 444, 587. And pardon me, Triple Crown slash line, not leading the league in home runs and RBI as well. Yeah. But Triple Crown slash line winner, which is arguably even more impressive to do so. And then injuries caught up to him. He moved to first base. His last 4 years, he was just kind of a slappy first baseman that you would not even remotely consider to be a Hall of Famer. But he was so great in such an intense short period of time at such a premium position, best hitting catcher of his generation. Joe Mauer is thus a Hall of Famer too.
I love it. Very, very, very cool. And Todd Helton.
Best line-to-line hitter I'd seen since Tony Gwynn.
I loved what Todd Helton said about Tony Gwynn. He was talking also on MLB Network.
I have it.
Oh, I would love to hear that, Braden.
There you go.
Thank you.
place right up where the ball's going to come out. He's like, Todd, you can't do that. He's like, your eyes wander too much if you're doing that. He said, you got to pick a specific spot on the pitcher, and then when he's about to release the ball, you just move your eyes over just a hair, and it works.
And now you're a Hall of Famer.
Really good.
I love that. I never
incredible.
get tired of Tony Gwynn stories and hearing more and more and more about this incredible man and who had a career that just no one can ever touch, but did things like that. Loved the game, wanted to grow the game, wanted to help people.
No one loved the game more.
Yeah. But that's so cool. That's something Todd Helton, he went on to have such an incredible career, one of the best pure hitters ever, right? I mean, but he will never forget that.
Todd Helton got knocked for being a Coors Field player, and that's why it took him a while to get into the Major League Hall of Fame. But his ability to hit is simply undeniable. And much like the previous player we talked about, Adrien Beltre, at age 37, Todd Helton was still hitting 302, 850 on OPS, a very valuable player in the major leagues. Now, age 38, 39, nope. You know,
it's hard.
and we've got Manny and Xander signed through 41. So, but nonetheless, you can be great late if you are that level of player.
Just get in those hyperbaric chambers now. Sleep in there. All right.
Congrats to the new 3 members of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, Adrien Beltre, Joe Mauer, Todd Helton. 3 very different paths to get there, but they all get over 75%. If I had another 2 minutes in the segment, I'd tell you how mad I am that Gary Sheffield isn't in.
I tell you about Adam Jones and what he said on Twitter.
Well, maybe we'll just do it when we come back for hour number 2 of Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Ben and Woods on The Fan.
Coming up on Thursday, well, we'll continue to wait for the Padres to make a move.
And we'll catch up with our pal Adam Jones in Baltimore for the AFC Championship.
Listen to Ben and Woods weekdays from 6 to 10 on 97.3 The Fan.
How powerful is Cox Internet? Powerful enough to keep fans across the country in the action on the biggest game days of the year. Whether you're one of 65,000 fans at Allegiant Stadium or you're streaming the game at home with America's fastest download speeds powered by fiber. Whenever it matters most, Cox keeps you connected. Cox Internet is connected to the premises via coaxial connection. Speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Cox terms and other restrictions may apply. Analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data. Fixed median download speeds. US Q3 2023.
Cover California is a free service from the state that's already helped millions of people like you get and pay for health insurance. With financial help to lower the cost of health coverage, you could get a quality health plan for less than $10 a month. Every plan covers preventive care, doctor visits, emergency care, and more. If you have questions, we're here to help every step of the way. Cover California, this way to health insurance. Enroll by January 31st at coveredca.com.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. Lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Right now, Loan Pronto has a cash-out refinance rate of just 5.49%. That is a huge drop. So you can refi now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all the credit cards and other high-interest loans. You can save hundreds every month with lower payments. Or if you still have a mortgage rate in the 3s, you can use Loan Pronto's Equity Express line.
San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Welcome back. Great to have you with us. Hoping for the clouds to part here in San Diego and for the golfers to have great conditions out at the Farmers today. It's Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. I'm Craig Elsten. I'm here. Braden Soprenet. Gang's all here.
We're here.
Gang's all here.
Ready to go.
For the last time this week. Gang's all here.
Oh,
Tomorrow.
Annie's out tomorrow?
Annie out. Friday, both y'all are out. Sammy Levitt will be joining me.
That'll be great.
Craig and Sammy show.
That'll be great.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Got some cool guests coming up the next couple of days as well, including my buddy Joe Sheehan's going to be on the show tomorrow. National baseball writer, Joe Sheehan newsletter. We'll talk to him about this, that, and everything. Hopefully, some more stuff will happen in Major League Baseball. We do have a Cold Stove League update coming up this hour and coming up probably as the segment transitions along, coming up at 12 o'clock. That's our daily news segment, the 12 o'clock Sports Fix. It's a chance for you to get caught up to date in less than 10 minutes on everything that's happened and that's happening in the world of sports, from what's happening out at the Farmers to what happened last night at the Sports Arena. We go local first, what happened at Viejas Arena, of course, but we'll get you caught up to date on the big national stories as well. That's coming up in the 12 o'clock Sports Fix. So your next hour or so is just completely on lock with us. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we talked about the three players who made the Hall of Fame in our previous segment, Annie, and threw our flowers in the direction of Beltre and Mauer and Todd Helton. Billy Wagner came up just short. Billy Wagner is probably going to make the Hall in his final year. He's essentially on Trevor Hoffman's exact path to the Hall of Fame. Jason Stark wrote about that in The Athletic today and showed that he came up 5 votes short, and Trevor came up 5 votes short, and then the next year got the votes and was able to go over the line. So next year is Billy Wagner's last year. It's a year that there aren't obvious first ballot guys to the level of Beltre and Mauer this year. So it always kind of opens up some space because you can only vote for 10 on the writer's ballot. And so it looks pretty clear that Billy Wagner will be in. So, good for Billy Wagner.
Yeah.
Some people, including Joe, tomorrow, if I talked about this, I'd waste 5 minutes of all of your time because he believes Mariano Rivera is the only relief pitcher ever who should be in the Hall of Fame. And literally no one else should be in the Hall of Fame that's a relief pitcher. I just can't disagree more on that. He's also a lifelong Yankee fan, but I admitted he's just like Mariano Rivera's postseason performance is the only reason he should be in the Hall of Fame. And I understand that, but I think it just misreads what baseball has been since the late 80s, which is a game designed from the front office to the manager to the players to be handed to somebody in the ninth inning when it's a close game, from Eckersley on, and you can go back to the classical Fingers, Gossage, et cetera, but the ninth inning reliever was really developed in the 80s. And, Russell, or, Bruce Sutter, right? Even he pitched more innings. And I just feel like you can't cut out 35 years of a job because you don't think they throw enough innings.
Does it tell the story? Can you tell the story of baseball without the relief pitchers? Can you tell the story of relief pitchers without those certain players? If you can do that, then they don't belong in the Hall of Fame. But if you can't, then they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Can you tell the story about the San Diego Padres without Trevor Hoffman?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
And it's a real thing. People pay for saves in baseball. People are still paying for saves.
Highly.
Yes. Yeah. Josh Hader just got banked.
Edwin Diaz got a huge contract.
Absolutely. So
closer is an important position.
Robert Suarez got a big deal for being a, late relief guy, potential future closer. I mean, it's not like it's a valuable position in baseball.
And similarly, with the simple but very, I think, elegant argument that you used there, Braden, I have to talk about Gary Sheffield. This was the 10th year for Gary Sheffield on the ballot, and it's just got to be agonizing if you are that human being that's in the process, because as all of the public ballots come out, you're sitting right at 75%,
right.
Going into the last day from public ballots, he was at 75.1%, but the private ballots are usually the ballots that'll have lower overall vote totals on them. I don't know if those writers are ashamed. I think that all ballots should be made public. If you have the honor and privilege of voting for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, you shouldn't be able to hide behind any veil of secrecy. Nonetheless, he wound up in like 65%. He wound up a couple dozen votes short of the Hall. And now it's up to the Veterans Committee down the line to correct this mistake. And I'm going to call it a mistake and draw a strong line of differentiation between he and players like Alex Rodriguez that are on the ballot and aren't going to get there, because Alex Rodriguez cheated the game in a way that is demonstrable and real. Barry Bonds, while he didn't fail a test to Major League Baseball, we've seen the trial. We know Balco. We know what he did to the game. Gary Sheffield has publicly said to everyone literally what happened the one off season. He was training with Bonds, had an injured knee, and was given the cream, the clear and the cream, the classic Balco stuff. And he was given the cream and he put it on his knee one off season. And he's been honest about that. He never failed a test. He was included in the Mitchell report, which is a weird report.
Yeah.
And played the rest of his career. But he told the truth. He told the truth and was specific. Like, I did this one thing this one time, which makes complete and perfect sense. Gary Sheffield is the most talented, dangerous, right-handed hitter with the fastest bat that I think I've seen in my life. And I know that there are others, Edgar Martinez, Miguel Cabrera, et cetera, incredible hitters. But Gary Sheffield at the plate, uniquely dangerous, and put up all the numbers you need to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I absolutely think he should be in the Hall of Fame. And I do think it's a mistake. And it's kind of, I mean, it's sad now, right? Because what is it? You get the chance for 10 years, is it? Or you get a certain number of tries.
10 years. You get 10 years.
And then that's it. That's your window is closed. And so it is a mistake. And that's what Adam Jones tweeted out yesterday, the same sentiment. Adam Jones, friend of us all, but he goes on with Ben and Wood. So friend of the Ben and Wood show. Whoever votes for the Hall of Fame should have to publicly post their ballots, he tweeted. You're screwing around with people's immortality because they didn't give you a hug. That's poppycock. I personally appreciate his usage of the word poppycock and whatnot, but his sentiments, I think, are right. Like, if you're doing something this serious, all the votes should have to be to be public. And it's one of the writers, Jeff Fletcher, who covers the Angels for the
He's Southern California News.
Southern California News Group. So he said about 75% do publish their ballots, including those who do so after the announcement. The BBWAA has voted twice to publish all ballots, but the Hall of Fame rejected it. The Veterans Committee, which includes players and managers, is even less transparent. So it's these private ones, especially, that you're not seeing.
Gary Sheffield had arguably, he didn't have the best single season of a Padres hitter ever, but he sure came close to having the best season of any Padres hitter ever. That was my junior year in college, 1992. I went to the Murph a lot. Used to buy upper deck tickets, $5, walk in some rally burgers and such and go sit in the, and the four tops with Tony Gwynn and Tony Fernandez and setting up Gary Sheffield and Fred McGriff. One of the great lineups that Padre fans ever had an opportunity to watch. And within that, Gary Sheffield was singularly great. He won the batting title in 1992, hitting .330, and with 33 homers and 100 ribs, he came close. He was fighting all year for the Triple Crown. He came up just short, obviously, on two categories, but he was right there in the mix for the Triple Crown for most of the season, led the league in total bases, finished third in the MVP voting, and then, of course, was traded to Florida the following year, which got the Padres Trevor Hoffman, the deal that you aren't that mad about compared to Fred McGriff or others, went on to be brilliant for the Marlins and be part of a World Series team, and then go on, of course, to the Dodgers with still danger, 43 homers, 34 homers, 36 homers. I just remember him coming in as a Dodger and watching at Qualcomm and just watching that bat waggle, and Kevin Jarvis or Brian Lawrence are trying to get their 91-mile-an-hour cheese past him and just going, this isn't going to work out. And a lot of times it would be in the left field bleachers.
pretty. I mean, again, so deserving, and it does make you wonder about the process and the way that this is done. And nothing against, of course, the people who made it should be in there. That we just went through them. They have the credentials, but it's an interesting process that I don't think is completely fine tuned. And certain people are getting left out, just like Sheffield, who now has to, yes, get voted in by a special vote. I'm not exactly sure how all that works, to be honest, but hopefully they at least right the wrong, because you can. I mean, that's the whole point of that, right? You have some kind of a task force that can oversee that. But yeah, rough.
Well, Gary Sheffield, dangerous player, former Padre, worth a few minutes to talk about, if nothing else. I do not look at him as the Hall of Very Good. I know he wasn't a good defensive player, but I'm sorry. One of the, if not the most dangerous right-handed hitters I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
And a great player. There's your Hall of Fame talk for the day. Let's dismiss this part, and then we'll go next segment into the Cold Stove League report, Annie. There was a tweet. I mean, this is the level we're at, AJ, honestly. A tweet yesterday saying the Padres had some interest or were at a workout for Noah Syndergaard. Noah Syndergaard, yay or nay?
So it was interesting because Robert Murray had this story where he says the Pirates and the Padres, he pointed them out because there was a handful of teams that watched this workout for Noah Syndergaard and were in on it. And then he points out the Padres and the Pirates. And then somehow a little while later, the Padres disappear from that story and it's just the Pirates. So, right. I'm not exactly sure what happened there in that reporting. And I haven't checked it this morning. I'm not sure if the Padres are back, but I think this is the kind of guy that they're going after, probably a reclamation project, probably someone who is trying to turn his fortunes. The argument can be made that he didn't succeed with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are usually pretty good at pulling talent. But you never know. You never know. The Padres have Ruben Niebla. He's also very good at pulling talent. I don't think it's something that I don't know if you're super excited about it, but could he be great? I guess with the right, maybe he could. I'm trying to look at a glass half full,
Yeah,
Craig. I'm trying.
I'm a hard pass.
He's had a really hard time, especially of late. Yeah.
Hard pass on Noah Syndergaard.
I worked a Mets game one time when I was with the Pods. We were doing the pre and stuff, and we were talking to, it was me and Dave Marcus and the engineer for the Mets, and he was giving us the full lowdown on like what it was like with Noah Syndergaard, and that was like at his height. And he said the biggest thing with Noah Syndergaard, he's like, he's too busy worrying about being Thor instead of being a pitcher. Like he was just so bought into I'm Thor, and then he'd be like talk to himself. We refer to him in the third person as Thor, and like it was all about being Thor. That all of a sudden he just like stopped pitching. I don't need a guy like that in our clubhouse.
So he had his worst year of his career last year. He was an all-star, like Braden was saying. He's far from the height of his career. He was an all-star back in 2016. And he's only 31. That's what's wild. But you do kind of get the impression that his career has already peaked and it's not going to go back up.
It's definitely plateaued.
Since his injury, since the injury that caused him to miss all of 2020.
Okay.
He, in 3 seasons, has generated a grand total of 0.7 WAR. That B WAR, and that's last year being negative 1.1. He hasn't been good at any point, is what I'm saying, since he came back. He was kind of okay for 80 innings in 2022 with the Angels as their 5th starter, kind of okay.
Yeah.
And then they traded him to Philly, and then Philly benched him for the playoffs.
So we don't know if the Padres are indeed in on him. If they are in on him, that would be what is your cause for concern? If they are
here's my cause for concern. He made $13 million to be terrible last year, and in today's pitching market, that means he'll probably get another $13 million.
How do you pay this guy $13 million? You think so?
Shouldn't pay him $3 million. And if you did pay him $3 million, I'd feel like maybe we should have signed G-Man Choi instead for $3 million and at least had somebody who would light up the clubhouse.
I can't see the Padres paying $13 million for this guy, but maybe, I don't know. The prices are nuts. It sounds crazy in my head, but every day we see these deals going through that are more and more crazy. So perhaps, but if you sign Noah Syndergaard, you are hoping for the best. You are hoping that he has a resurrection or reclamation, whatever word you want to call it, because he has not had it. He has not had that touch for many years now.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. To Braden's point, I don't know that he's ever been anyone who truly fell in love with the art of pitching. He's just one of those stuff shove guys. How hard can I throw? Let me throw my hammer, and so the instant that your stuff drops below your talent level,
you become a thrower and not a pitcher.
Yeah, you're done.
Serious trouble.
You're just done because you've got nothing to go back on in terms of command, artistry,
finesse, all
thought
that.
process.
Yeah.
Might as well try for Matt Harvey.
Right.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Exactly.
New York Mike.
Yeah.
I like
Why don't we just, why don't we stay away? Paul Wilson, all of them. Stay away from old Mets wonder kids. Let's stick to the kids we have. I'd rather throw a double-A kid.
That's a good question. Would you rather see a prospect come up?
Yes.
As long as
Straight
you're not
up.
going to mentally ruin him, yes.
The difference between starting a young pitcher and starting a young hitter is that sometimes stuff plays in the big leagues. So you can limit the guy's exposure. We talked about that with John Percoda last week, Braden, in our Pods Above Replacement segment. Strict limits of 18 hitters for guys who are not named Darvish and Musgrove in the starting rotation. There are circumstances where I could close my eyes and imagine that Drew Thorpe comes up and right away throws a good outing, or Jairo Iriarte.
I like where you're going with this. I think I've been thinking about, are the Padres going to get really creative? But then you need more arms in there to make up for the other innings. You don't want to blow out your bullpen too early in the season. And this team has thrived on a 6-man rotation in the past. Even if it's not a true 6-man, it's giving guys 5 days of rest in between. So I'm not sure, because I could see that where they're trying to get a little bit more creative at the back end of their rotation, perhaps bring some people up and not use them as much. But then my head goes to, well, but how do you supplement the rest of those innings then?
Well, I've got at least one idea on that. And why don't we broach it when we come back? And we'll get into our Cold Stove League report.
It's not a trade, is it?
It's not. No.
Okay,
We
good.
saved that-
Hey, all
we
right,
saved
excited.
that-
Let's go.
We
Here we
saved
go.
that for Let's Make a Trade at 12:45.
I thought you were going to add another trade.
No, not a 2-trade day.
Not a
I'm
2-trade
having a hard
day.
enough time right now
I
finding
was
one
going to
trade.
say,
on the
we're
market.
really in trouble if Craig's going to 2 trades plus our new segment, Lakers make a trade to the trade deadline.
Lakers make a trade with
Poor
Andy.
Craig's like at his house, like late at night. He's tired. He's punching that trade simulator. Like, come on, baby, give me something.
Treating it like I'm
a
at the
slot
casino.
machine, yeah.
That's exactly what he's
Please, one more.
Sweating a little.
One more.
Guy's got a personal slot machine at one of the local establishments in town, and he put different teams on there for trades and different players' faces.
Glass
and
of
he
whiskey
cranks
next
it,
to him.
and
Right.
then it's like if he gets 3 across in any type of way, that's the
Moniac.
one that AJ
Moniac.
Preller's gonna do.
Blanco.
Oh,
just missed. I thought I
guys,
had
they're
it.
all. That's why it's so random on the teams. God, he's just waiting for all the logos to hit.
Here
And
we go.
today, it's the Minnesota Twins. All right, here we go. Time to look at the roster. You're dreading
my
the day
work is done.
to make a trade with the A's.
I've got a different idea, all right? A different one.
All right,
And we're going to
sounds
talk
good.
about it when we come back. Andy and Elsten, your new midday hang on 97.3 The Fan.
You can listen to San
Welcome back, Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant, here with you till 2 o'clock. We were just talking through some cold stove news there, settling in on a new idea to try and improve our beloved San Diego Padres.
That doesn't involve a trade.
That does not, in this case.
So Annie and I are
involve a
more
trade.
excited than
All
we
right.
usually are.
Good. I don't know why you guys are so anti-trade. Trades are great. Trades are fun when they happen. They
One
give
day
us
we're going
something
to come
to
in.
say.
And we're going to be traded. Craig's going
I
to be
hope
like,
not. No.
traded you
I've
guys.
just made a move.
Yeah, I just made a move. I love trades.
We already traded Woods for Katie Wu. So
Yeah, that's true.
Make sure
Exactly.
the right things happen.
Chad Jennings of The Athletic put out a long piece last night about just what's left on the board across baseball in free agency. There's obviously a lot in the starting pitching pot still. I mean, frontline guys, Snell, Jordan Montgomery.
Right.
Second line guys like Clevenger, Hyunjin Ryu, Michael Lorenzen, pitchers who are, right out there that should command at least a decent deal. I know the Padres wouldn't want Mike Clevenger back, probably under any circumstance. Then, of course, there's that whole subclass below that. Zach Greinke, Johnny Cueto, maybe Jacob Junis in a swingman role, or Alex Wood, etc. But what I thought was a little bit interesting is that I was going through the Pods Above Replacement episode from last week. We had on John Percoda, Rafi Cantor do Pods Above Replacement, great show onto the Padres Hot Tub Network, but always an analytical look. And they looked at the bullpen, and in particular, Rafi kind of went through the broad numbers of just when you add a type of pitcher, what's it just average expected performance. And adding a left-handed starter or a right-handed starter has similar performance, but a left-handed reliever is the thing you can get that's more likely, just historically, statistically. We don't need to bore you with all the cruncher of why. That's the thing that will historically, statistically have the most success. And there are some left-handed relievers that are just sitting on the market that aren't really being discussed at this time. There's two in particular that I think if you could spend $5 million, a portion, what's the number again, Braden? 26 to stay under the CBT?
Yeah, max 27.
Okay, so we probably want to leave 5 or 6 million in there for a potential move if the team is good. At midseason to have a little flexibility, little flexibility, so that at least you could play with the numbers and move a guy and stay under the CBT. So that means we're talking about like 5-6 million probably being our max spend. Brad Hand is on the market.
Bringing him back.
Wandy Peralta is on the market, and I would look at either one of those guys as being kind of a sneaky good ad for the San Diego Padres. Let me start with Wandy Peralta, 32 years old, Dominican left-handed reliever. He's been with the New York Yankees, so we're just collecting Yankees, which would be, part of a set for this offseason. But last 3 years with the Yanks, ERAs of 2.95, 2.72, 2.83. Very good. Now, his whip has gone up and down because he's had occasional wildness. Last year, he walked too many guys. He walked 5 guys per 9 innings, 30 in 54 innings, but he struck out 51. And again, picked up 4 saves, ERA under 3, veteran pitching in the AL East, pitching in some really tough circumstances. The more lefty relievers you can give Mike Shildt against teams like the Giants, who run 100 platoons out there, and the Dodgers, who have these dudes named Ohtani and Freeman and Muncy in the middle of the order, the more chance you have to get away with a Vasquez, Brito, Waldron, Avila class of pitcher, because you're like, yeah, we're throwing that guy out there no more than 2 times through the order, but then bam, here comes Hand or Peralta. And then we've also got Musgrove, and we've also got Matsui. Now we got 3 different southpaws that we could attack you with various times through the order.
I think it's great. I absolutely agree they need another left-handed reliever. I think that they could use a veteran. They could use someone with experience. Right now, they don't really have that. And so I think that, yeah, you get another guy in there is firing it off, and you potentially just, have strength in your bullpen big time. But also, we saw last year, we see every year, you don't need it till you need it. And when you need it, it's the game unraveling while you're watching it. So I think that either of these guys would be a good add.
I think if either of those guys came onto the Padres, he'd be right away the first left-hander that you'd want to rely on. And I really loved what Tom Cosgrove did last year. He was really good for the Padres. It was his first year in baseball.
Right.
People don't have the book on you when you first come up. They do to some extent, but not the same. Throws that exaggerated sweeper, and right-handers were really learning, I thought, by the end of the year, when to spit on that pitch and when to force him to come in with a not so great fastball. He really has to have that sweeper for him to be effective. Do you want to make him your number one lefty? Yuki Matsui is fresh from Japan. Do you want to make him your number one lefty right off the top? I kind of feel like when you were talking about $14 million for bad starting pitchers in baseball, if you could spend half of that or less on getting another quality left-handed reliever in the bullpen, now you're getting me a little bit more excited about the overall staff.
Yeah, they need it. They need it. I don't think, for all the points you just made, they don't have this right now. And I don't think you should be depending on Tom Cosgrove to be your number one guy. He's good, and he was really great for the Padres last year, especially coming in the way that he did and the way he was as a rookie and being able to have the growth that he did. I mean, Tom Cosgrove, you absolutely want to see what he can do in year 2. But to your point, the hitter's going to be more prepared for Tom Cosgrove as well. So it'll be great to talk to him and find out what he's been working on this offseason. But I think bringing in a guy with experience, a guy that has, the stuff coming off the mound, I would go with Peralta on this one. I don't think Hand was as good last year. I just ride with what Peralta's been giving. And also a Yankee, like you said, he already knows some of these guys that have already been brought here. So, more camaraderie. I know you guys love that. More vibes.
All Yankee acquisitions.
Yeah.
She's getting nothing but Yankees.
But look, if you can play, there is something too, I think, playing in New York and playing in those stripes and being able to withstand some of the pressures that go along with that. So I think that's a clubhouse where a lot is expected. They don't have the success rate that they would want over there. I get that part, but there's still a lot of pressure. A lot is expected of those players that are in those uniforms.
Couple questions in the chat as to whether Rich Hill has retired. I don't think it matters whether he's announced his retirement or not. I think baseball retired Rich Hill last year. I think it's all done.
Rich Hill, there was this might have been a Union Tribune article. There was I don't know. I have to find it for credit, but he wants to play. I thought I saw something where he wants to play like half the season. He wants to watch his kids play their games in the middle, in the beginning of the season, and then he wants to come in and help a team towards the end of the season. And that sounds wonderful. I don't know that will work out, but that sounds like a wonderful plan. If you can swing that, you can have half the year off and take your kids to practice and then come in when a team needs you. But that's asking a lot. And we didn't see that success with Rich Hill last year.
I'm really looking forward to Rich Hill's agent calling around in July
with that plan. I know
Rich is feeling better than ever. Let me tell you, he's snapping off that
he's
curve.
Real rested. He watched all his kids. He's good.
Marshawn Lynch. There's like a certain amount of players. It's like certain players that could do that. I don't think Rich Hill's one of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's aspirational. I who knows? We could be talking come July about him joining a team and being really good. But yeah, it's definitely aspirational. You don't hear about that sort of thing a lot.
Injuries happen.
Yeah.
If you're willing to wait through it, there might be a team that wants to use him to eat innings instead of burn or call up some of their young guys that that might not be ready yet.
But all of that to say, Rich Hill, I don't think is wanting to pitch now.
No.
I don't think so either.
Everything I felt bad about Noah Syndergaard, I want Rich Hill 5 times less. Like 5 times less. So, I mean, hey, great guy, great stories, interesting career, fascinating career.
Fascinating guy. Yeah.
Should write a book, should start a podcast. He should do something for sure to share his baseball wisdom with the world, but it's not towing the slab for the San Diego Padres ever again. Please, please, please.
When he comes back to MLB in the summer, and he's just
killing it.
killing it.
For
What are
3
you gonna
starts,
do? Right.
10 innings. I'll predict to you that it won't continue, and then it will stop. is what will happen.
I can't argue that will be inaccurate. So
That's what I will do.
We'll see.
I promise you. I promise you this.
Mm.
All right, a big signing in the Central that actually could have a big impact on the Padres' playoff hopes. Plus, the Angels can't help but be themselves. The Colt Stove Report is next. When we come back, Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. While you're listening to 97.3 The Fan, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest, feature, or if something crazy happened from earlier, don't worry, we've got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today to get started.
I'll give you an actionable example. There were folks in the YouTube chat that were bummed because when we were playing that clip of Todd Helton talking about Tony Gwynn, it wasn't going out to the YouTube channel. So if you were one of those folks that missed that, you could jump onto the Odyssey app right now, hit rewind to get back to that segment, and you could hear it all. And then you could catch up to the show on YouTube. You could just click pause here.
It's all chaptered out. It's actually really easy to find stuff.
I don't care when you watch the show. I mean, it's cool if it's live. It's great because then you can actually interact. But if you want to watch it at midnight, it's fine by me. You know, still helps the old ball club, the Odyssey corporate empire.
Listening. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah. Sometimes you're.
When do you usually go to bed?
Oh, well, I try to go to bed by 10 p.m. and I don't, but I get insomnia. And so sometimes
Do you really?
Yeah. I'll just be like,
how often?
I used to get it really regularly, and now I get it, I would say maybe once a week. I'm up for a good whole.
Are you just thinking about stuff?
Yeah, just thinking about stuff like, oh, I got to do this. I know I have a nighttime routine, the whole sleep hygiene, all that stuff, but I'll just be thinking about stuff. But I've gotten really good at, which I don't think this is a very good skill, but I have gotten good at it, just soldiering on.
Yeah.
You know, you just wait. The world is still waiting for me at 5 a.m. or whatever it is, 6 a.m. the next day. So onward we go. Yeah, I might not be as, sharp, which is scary because that's not saying a lot for when I've gotten a full night's sleep.
So this is a big part of the reason why I use a white noise buffer.
I use a white noise.
At night.
I love my white noise. Yeah, I love my white noise. And blackout curtains.
When I wake up. And, whatever, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever, like you're like, I just say to myself, just listen to the rain, like don't think about anything. Just listen to the rain. And then I listen to the rain. And the next thing you know, it's hours later.
I have it on rain sounds too. I love that stuff. I love that Calm app too, that like you can watch. Yeah. Like you can watch the rain falling off the leaves. And if you did that, I really think if you did that during your day for 60 seconds, you would probably have a nice little reset.
The thing that works for a lot of people too, like when trying to go to sleep, is I guess the military used to do it. I don't know if they still do. I'm sure there's people in the military that can tell me the deal, but it was like they had this process of like relaxing your body to get you asleep within like 6 minutes. So like you can sleep no matter what the surrounding circumstances are around you. But it has a lot to do with like you start with like trying to just relax your face and then relax your, you go through your body and you just focus on relaxing that part of your body. And then they say clear your mind, and they said if you can't do that, the best way to do that is literally just say, don't think about anything in your head over and over again. I've actually done that a couple of times. It's worked out, but I'm not a person that has insomnia, so I don't know if that would be a different tactic for you, Annie, to just slowly start shutting your body down.
I've tried many a tactic, but it has gotten a lot better. I'm curious what time, but thank you, Braden. I will look into that. What time do you guys go to sleep? Now I'm curious.
Depends on the day.
It depends also if there's Padres games. I feel like that'll mess up your sleep schedule because you're up then till midnight. Usually.
Well, my goal is the same as yours. I like to be in bed by 10. And to be honest, once I get in bed, I don't last long. Like, my wife can stay up and read for a while, and like 5 or 6 minutes, I read a couple paragraphs and it's like, time to power down. So I'm great. I'm aiming on the mighty phone for 10:30 to 6. As my sleeping period and to kind of aim for 7.5 hours. And then if you can get a little more, that's amazing. On a Saturday, I'll sleep until 7 or 7:20 or something like that. But I'm always up before 7:30, guaranteed.
Will you wake up without an alarm?
Yes.
Braden, will you?
On the weekends I can, because during the week it's like your body's used to it. So like on the weekends I don't have an alarm and I'll just be up before like I need to get up. But like during the week, no, I definitely need an alarm, but I try to program like it's on your watch. I have my watch track my sleep now, which I didn't used to do, but now it's kind of interesting to see. But I try to get the 8 hours. So Tuesday nights, I try to go to bed at 9 because I have to be up at 5 for football practice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my summer is gonna be like when I got to have the 6 a.m. wake up. I have to be at Cathedral at 6 a.m. So I'm gonna try to build up to that. But on the other nights, I usually go 10 to about 6:30 is kind of my my window. I try to get at least 8 hours every time. That's just kind of a recent thing. I could last a long time without a lot of sleep. It's not good for you. It helps with a lot of different things in your life, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and again, with work and everything you have to do, I mean, if I get home from a USD game at like 10:30,
That's the thing.
tough, right?
Yeah,
Tough.
match
Like,
nights are tough. Match nights are
still
tough.
got to be up the next day, so I try my best to be in bed by at least 10 and, at the latest be asleep before 11. Because when I was in college, I used to stay up till like 2 in the morning and then be up at 7 for my 8 a.m. class every day.
No, can't do it. Team Boring here on the Annie and Elsten show. All asleep by 10:30 and all waking up with the rooster. We're just such good boys and girls.
Unless I got a 10 o'clock softball game, which sucks in the winter, but that is the case sometimes. And then I never go to sleep because you're geared up from playing.
Right.
I have grown to love, though. I like getting up early, like a little bit before the sun gets up.
I was
sun
up before
comes up.
Yeah,
Like I think that I think the whole like let me stay up till 2 a.m. is overrated. Get a good night's sleep and get up before the sun comes up and have like that little window when you feel like the rest of the world isn't awake yet.
That's what
I like it.
That's what super successful people do.
I-
They're up at like 5.
If
and
only
they
I
get,
adopt all the other.
they get everything done. Like they're like it's just a step ahead of everybody else is what the philosophy on that is. But it's good to get productive, especially if you live in a house with other people. Like you're up before everybody else and get some stuff done. And then, it's like 8 o'clock and you've been up for 3 hours and you're already like part of your day. You're rolling before most people are just, having their coffee. So there are some perks to that, obviously. But
Hey, if we had a second bathroom in the house, I would do it.
Right.
I would get up, but unfortunately, my wife gets up at that time, so I'm done. I'm
Your
that's it.
bathroom really runs your life. Your one bathroom really dictates a lot of your.
It's more than you'd
your
realize.
decisions.
Yeah, it actually does shape so many routines. All right, time for the brief cold stove report here. It's heating up. It's almost up to lukewarm stove time now in Major League Baseball. It does feel like we're starting to get a drip of almost daily signings. And the big one yesterday, and I do believe this is a big signing, the Milwaukee Brewers signed first baseman Reese Hoskins to a 2-year, $34 million deal. Hoskins has a way to get out if he has a good enough year in 2024. But this is important to the Padres, guys, I think, on two different levels. On the most basic level, Milwaukee is trying to win this year. So any dreams we had of going to them and asking about Corbin Burns or Freddie Peralta or making some type of deal to get one of their starters because they're cutting back on cost. Nope. We're cutting back on cost. They're going for it. Signing Hoskins addresses a direct need for the Milwaukee Brewers. Last year, they had Rowdy Tellez as their first baseman. They wind up DFAing him at one point in the year to get Carlos Santana, a player I'm still very much interested in the Padres pursuing, Carlos Santana. But, Santana's 37. He's up there in his career. Hoskins is in the heart of his career, and he didn't his injury last year was getting hurt in spring training, kind of a freak thing. So you don't expect an erosion of his talent as the result of the injury he took. In Milwaukee, similar park to Philadelphia, Annie, I would kind of write in as a lock that Reese Hoskins will get 25 to 30 homers this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that injury last year, like you said, just a fluke thing, tore his ACL in the left knee during spring training, but was a consistent presence in the middle of the Philly lineup, averaged 30 home runs in his first averaged 30 home runs in his 4 full seasons. So I think you look at what happened in Philadelphia. They moved Bryce Harper back to first. What are you going to do with Reese? But now he goes to a team that is trying to win. I know that their payroll isn't as high, but I do think that they're pretty smart with what they do over there with the Brewers. They do end up in the playoffs quite consistently. They do have some good pitching over there. So you're looking at those wild card spots too, right? And you're looking and going, this is a team that's getting better. But for Reese, also, what was that? 2-year, $34 million. It's another indication that these prices, and not that he's not deserving of that, but these prices are not going down. They're still quite high.
Correct. And any idea that the Padres are going to make a big splash on the free agent market, we can We have. We don't even need to say that anymore. We've thrown that out the window. If the Padres go sign Blake Snell, we're all going to lose our minds. Like on multiple levels. We're going to just lose our, what? We can do that? It's like watching your kid dunk a basketball when he was 12 or something. You're like, what? You're not allowed to do, how do you do that?
It doesn't seem possible right now, but again, we don't know. They could surprise us in the next few weeks.
Could they?
What do we know?
Only what we've heard, right? We only know what we've heard. I think Hoskins makes the Brewers better. I think Hoskins does put the Brewers right there in the middle of the wild card conversation. The Cubs are still a team that we're hearing is going to get around to signing Bellinger. It's the number one name that they're still linking, and it makes the most sense because they experienced his good year. Maybe they feel like Chicago and he are a great fit somehow. That's probably a better fit than taking him somewhere else at this point. So I think you're looking now at going, okay, Cubs look like a team that's aiming to win the division. Brewers look like a team that's aiming to win the division. The Cardinals know they have to get better this year. I don't know if they are going to get better, but they're going to try to get better. So it's just one. These are really the teams we are fighting with in the dreams of making the playoffs. It's not the Dodgers. Throw the Dodgers out the window. Try and beat them 5 or more times this year, please. But honestly, we're fighting for second place and we're fighting for a wild card spot. So these are the teams you worry about.
Just got to beat them 3 times. Just got to beat them 3 times.
In a playoff series.
That's it. That's all that matters.
I'm talking about in our regular season series.
Who cares? They go 0-10. They go 0-10, but they beat them 3 times in the playoffs. Do you care?
Because that's a 10 under 500 we have to battle back from
who cares?
To get to the playoffs is my point. If we could just win a few games against the Dodgers,
you don't have to worry
makes
about
it easier.
those teams. You got to worry about playing the teams that you're competing with for a playoff spot.
And we really just don't know. We're seeing all these other teams fill out their rosters more and more. And I think that's what's like, what are the Padres going to do? It is hard to imagine they're going to throw any big money after a free agent. We've seen all the reports. Unless they're working some magic behind the scenes, again, like that we don't know about, you're looking at something that is probably going to come by trade. But then it's like, well, what is that going to look like? And who is that going to come by? And what are you still need to fill out the rest of the roster. So it's really actually quite befuddling. I don't really know when those dominoes are going to start to fall for the Padres.
Well, our goal is obviously to be a good team. Our long-term goal has to be to not be the Angels, to not be a team that has a couple of big stars on gigantic contracts, overloaded by these top-heavy deals, wind up being uncompetitive year after year, winning 70-ish games and going, well, another great year for Manny, another great year for X, another great year for Tatis. Too bad we won 80 games. The Angels keep putting themselves in these spots, though, by making the classic mistakes. They're just kind of like that guy that keeps showing up at the poker game but never fixes the leaks in his game. And I'd just like to put a question to you. For $20 million, would you rather have Josh Hader, which actually you got at 19, or would you rather have Robert Stevenson and Matt Moore? Because the Angels paid Robert Stevenson 3 years, $33 million based on literally 1/2 of one good season last year in Tampa Bay, no less. And then just gave Matt Moore, who's been pitching forever, a $9 million one-year contract to be a relief lefty. I'd rather have Josh Hader.
I'd rather have Josh Hader too.
Than both those guys.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, exactly.
But that's how the Angels make mistakes over and over again, is by spending medium market for medium players when you could have spent top market and brought in a top player. And you wind up spending the same amount to get a bunch of bleh when you could have had Josh. And Josh Hader has his problems, but Josh Hader makes the Angels bullpen formidable.
But Josh Hader got a longer deal, right? He got a $100 million deal, which
he got a 5-year deal, but they gave Stevenson the second biggest. This is my point. Don't be the second biggest. Don't give the second and third biggest deals. Get that top deal or stay out of the middle market.
Right. Because then you're probably just overpaying and not really getting the guy that you need, the closer that you need.
Precisely. Now you've got just mucky middle relievers coming in, throwing 4.5 ERAs going, oh well. And you paid the same as Josh Hader.
You paid a lot of money for that.
Exactly. 2 hours deep. We're going to reset the entire sports world when we come back. The 12 o'clock Sports Fix is how we will start hour number 3 of Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's Chris Hella from Gwynn and Chris. You know, baseball is over, but the real show just getting started. Join us in the afternoon for sports talk, even Scraby's nonsense, and a whole lot of fun.
Top of the hour, midpoint of the work week. Welcome to Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station. We are 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. I'm Craig Elsten. It is great to have you with us, Braden Soprenet as well. And it is 12 o'clock. What does that mean? It means it's a busy day. It's a busy week. You don't know what's going on always in the world of sports. Let's let the people know what they need, Annie.
Let's do it.
It's time for the 12 o'clock Sports Fix, our daily segment on Annie and Elsten. We will get things started as we each provide our separate reports on local and national news in the world of sports with Mr. Braden Zaprenett on the college basketball beat, because San Diego State did not get beat last night.
No, they did not, Craig. They were expected to destroy the Wyoming Cowboys, and destroy them they did. Wyoming put up a fight early on in the game, but the Aztecs roll to 16-4 in the year, 5-2 in conference play after downing the Wyoming Cowboys 81-65. USD Toreros were back in action last night up in Portland. It was the makeup game from last week's game that was canceled due to inclement weather in the Portland area. USD went up there and was really getting run out of the building until a second half comeback led by PJ Hayes and 33 points. The kid was 9 for 14 from beyond the arc. USD shot 48% from the three-point line in this victory for the Toreros. Their first in West Coast Conference play. They beat the Portland Pilots 85-81. Now back to a game above 500 on the season, and now 1-5 in conference play. An interesting story out of Fort Worth, Texas. The TCU women's basketball program, who has added 3 additional walk-ons for the remainder of the 2023-2024 season ahead of its game against UCF yesterday. They started the season 14-0, briefly ranked 23 in the nation, had to forfeit a pair of games last week after a slew of injuries left them with just 6 available players. Program held walk-on tryouts last week, bringing aboard 4 walk-ons in total. Sarah Sylvester, who is also an athlete on the school's volleyball team, as well as new additions Piper Davis, Ella Hamlin, and Micaiah Moore. Sylvester, a sophomore middle blocker for the volleyball team, 6'3" post now, while the others are guards. All of them had very impressive resumes. They did beat UCF with those girls last night, 65-60. So an improbable story for the women's basketball team at TCU. As far as high school basketball is concerned in town, Torrey Pines all over El Camino last night, 73-44. San Diego, the Cavers upset the Hoover Cardinals 61-58. La Costa Canyon over San Diego 87-56. Carlsbad beats Sage Creek 84-55. And Bonita Vista beats Christian 70-46. That's the high school and college report.
All right,
Craig.
Let's get Annie's baseball and NFL report then.
All right, in the NFL, Joe Barry is out as the Packers defensive coordinator. Some of you might remember him. He was the linebackers coach in San Diego from 2012 to 2014. And moving over to MLB, first baseman Reese Hoskins and the Milwaukee Brewers finalizing a 2-year, $34 million contract with an opt-out after the first season. Angels signed left-handed reliever Matt Moore to a 1-year, $9 million contract. The Marlins agree to a minor league deal with Trey Mancini. He gets an invite to spring training. And the Reds say they will not bring back Joey Votto. Votto was with Cincinnati for 17 seasons.
He's available. He's calling AJ. He's probably texting him every single day.
What do we think about Joey Votto?
That I believe we all agreed that he would sign Nelson Cruz's deal
That's
and
right.
suffer Nelson Cruz's fate.
A low-risk sign. If you can get him for low risk, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be here for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would be an outstanding interview candidate.
He would be wonderful.
For yourself?
Yeah, we would all love him. Yes.
Yeah. And then, really get into it and then maybe convince him to, partner with us for his new podcast, because he should definitely have a show
100%.
of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Might hit a couple of homers. God only knows. All right, it's my turn. Let's go to the NBA, the NHL, arena sports, and we'll wrap things up with a check of the Farmers leaderboard. Quite an interesting day in the NBA yesterday, as it started with Adrian Griffin being fired as the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, even though his club is number 2 in the East. Nonetheless, they were 6-5 in January. They were leaking heavily on defense, and apparently Griffin, who was Giannis Antetokounmpo's handpicked head coach in the offseason, some reporting I read yesterday indicated that maybe that was more of just trying to avoid having Nick Nurse become the Bucks head coach. He was like, well, let's pick this other guy instead. So now it's Doc Rivers. After a whole evening of media ping pong of will he or won't he, Doc Rivers will, in fact, be the new Milwaukee Bucks head coach, and we'll see if he can get a team to the finals, which he has not done at any stop of his NBA career. Last night, it was rivalry week getting kicked off around the NBA and including in LA, where the LeBron-less Lakers fell to the hottest team in the NBA, the Clippers. 127-116, triple-double for Kawhi. Lakers kept it close, kept it competitive, but without LeBron, no chance. And the Clips are just 1.5 games out of the top seed in the West now. Another game that I was watching last night that was very entertaining and back and forth. Oklahoma City beat the Blazers 111-109, but in the final 11 seconds, Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Blazers, was at midcourt feverishly trying to call timeout as Malcolm Brogdon got double-teamed and trapped on the baseline. Brogdon turned over the ball. The officials did not recognize the timeout, awarded possession to OKC. Billups ran out on the court, got double-teed up. Moments later, it was Jalen Williams for a game-winning shot, and Oklahoma City won 111-109. On the ice of the NHL, history is in the making right now with the Edmonton Oilers. They beat the Columbus Blue Jackets last night 4-1. It's a 14-game winning streak for the Edmonton Oilers, longest in franchise history. Remember, they had Gretzky and Messier and everyone else back in the 80s, longest for any Canadian team in history, and it's the 7th longest win streak in NHL history, and they're 3 away from the record. 17 straight set by the 1992-1993 Pittsburgh Penguins. More locally, the Ducks beat Buffalo 4-2. Kings host the Sabres tonight. And at Pechanga Arena, our beloved San Diego Gulls win in an overtime shootout against Abbotsford. Down to the Canucks. Not in regulation, not in overtime, but in the OT shootout, 2-1. A win for the Gulls, who head to Iowa for the weekend. Now, let's check the Farmers Insurance Open scoreboard from Torrey Pines, and we see Nikolai Hodggaard is the current leader. Hojgaard. Really not sure on that one, but he is 6 under on the south course. On the north course, Matt Neesmith, Maverick McNeely, Stefan Jaeger, and Colin Morikawa are all at 4 under, along with Scott Stallings and Sami Velamaki and Kevin Yu. Those in the lead. Patrick Cantlay is at 3 under par right now. Hideki Matsuyama is at 3 under par. Charlie Hoffman, 2 under on the south course. So far, Michael Kim, Torrey Pines grad, is 2 under. Those are some of the notables. Shane Lowry also 2 under in the first round right now of the Farmers Invitational, which continues through Saturday. There it is. Your 12 o'clock sports fix. We checked in at 8 minutes today. Less than 10 minutes to get you the world of sports.
The Farmers look so pretty, even on a cloudy day. It just looks like I love when those shots of the city get broadcast to everyone.
Yeah.
I do think. Oh, I see in the chat. Did Doc have? I think he had a title in 2008.
There you go.
Now,
sorry, buddy.
You get a pass. You get a pass, Craig, because it's 1 out of 24.
He was the head coach that year. I should have looked. I was being extemporaneous, buddy. But that was the anything is possible year.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
That's right.
That's right.
Boston Celtics.
That's right.
Against my Lakers.
That's why Craig doesn't remember it.
Yeah, I don't
He's
block it from his memory.
Out of his memory.
You know, Braden,
that makes sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're actually right. That is how my brain works. I block out the bad things.
That's right. You block it out. No wonder you didn't really. He's never won because it never happened.
On this week's Padres Hot Tub, because we have nothing to talk about because it's a Padres show, we did a riff where Rafi was quizzing us on the 2010s. I couldn't believe how many things I got wrong.
Oh, it's hard to remember everything. Like I said, everything kind of jumbles together, doesn't it?
It all blends together.
Right.
I'm so bad with like specific events happening in specific years. I can give you like a time frame, but the actual season that it happened, absolutely not.
Could either of you properly guess the Padre who led the franchise in WAR in the 2010s? The number one Padres WAR getter in the decade of the 2010s. It's a pretty, by the numbers, it's a very obvious, it's a clear winner.
I would say Adrian Gonzalez, but
that seems
too obvious.
It is not. Chase Headley.
Oh, really?
I can believe it.
Chase Headley.
He was there like the longest.
Chase Headley. You know who was number 2?
Nick Hundley.
Will Venable.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Will Venable, right? We've banished them from our minds. The point of the exercise was to say, like, we think we have it bad now, we used to be watching Chase Headley and Will Venable as the stars of the team, going like, well, what if Chase hits 33 homers again like he did that 1 year only? Or what if this is the year? How many years as Padre fans, how many straight years did we go, is this the year Will Venable puts it all together? He's a two-sport athlete. He played basketball at Princeton,
I'm not going to stand for Will Venable hate right now. I just,
He's a great, a tremendous human being,
this was
probably
where the
future
Padres,
manager.
Right. And this is where the Padres were at. But to your point, this was the payroll they were handling. It was a lot of hope, a lot of hopium during that time. Still a lot of hopium.
Great guy, super mid ball player. And every year we were like, well, he was late to the game. Remember, he was a college basketball player. Remember, he was late to the game. What if this is the year?
Chase Headley would get some home run every once in a while that you'd be like, whoa, like amazing, and he'd get the game winner, walk off every once in a while. But yeah, that wasn't exactly the same as having Manny Machado now.
Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis,
Right.
Xander Bogaerts, Yu
not the
Darvish,
same.
Joe Musgrove, team leader Joe Musgrove, creating bonfires. The other thing that stood out, I saw some more pictures. We started the show with Joe's bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just a bonfire. Like when we have a bonfire, any one of us in the audience, what do? We call our friends or have a Google chat or a group text or something. And then it's like, okay, well, who's going to bring this? Who's going to bring that? Who's going to bring the wood? Someone's got to go down and squat on a bonfire area. You got to get a fire pit, right? So like, can you reserve the fire pit, or do you have to go early and sit on the fire pit for the bonfire later? Check out Joe's. He hired a bonfire company.
Oh yeah, it's the Blue Light Bonfires. They build out this seating area in the sand.
Right.
And then they have all the food and the drinks and stuff, but the seating area looks like almost like a couch would. Like it's like, it's got a back.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It's really cool.
What's amazing, and they carve it out of the sand of the beach. You don't need to squat on the fire pit. Yeah, Joe wasn't out. I mean, I was first when we were talking about that, I'm like imagining Joe just like hanging out on the beach with a cooler, with like Casey Stoney's orange cooler, just like, hey, guys, this pit's mine. We got some people coming.
Wood, splintering his hand that is very needed during the season. And
walking around in those bare feet. You never know what you're going to step on in the San Diego. No, like the bonfire company came and set it up.
They did it all.
Man, it must be nice.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know how much that sort of thing would cost. You could do
What's
it
it
as
called
well. BLU, Blue Light Bonfires, San Diego.
I'd love to know how much that would cost.
Yeah, maybe we can.
And it's in this.
We don't sponsor
believe
this,
me,
by the
we
way.
are not trying to shame or diss Joe. This is amazing what Joe did.
No,
It's
Joe
great.
should not. No, it's
It's
really
incredible.
cool.
It's so cool and it's so fun.
It's like
I'm jealous.
Yeah. It's like those companies that set up like a picnic and a whole outdoor food thing. I mean, it's really cool that they did. Really smart to do in San Diego.
What's the number, Braden?
Corporate events are $2,000. That's for corporate stuff. They have you could do they also have one where you can set up a screen and have either video games plugged into it or movie. That starts at $1,000, and then they have the custom one, which I guess depends on the beach you're at. That starts at $375.
Different beaches cost.
Yeah, and then there's
money.
different add-ons, additional seats, and you can add a Polaroid camera, life-size games like the Jenga and Connect 4 and stuff like that. They got a bunch of different things you can add on, I guess. And then at Wind and Sea, it starts at $275 because obviously it's kind of more kind of rocks than they don't have to dig anything at Wind and Sea. They just put it on the rocks, so it's a little bit less on that sense. But I don't know. I'm assuming there's probably specific beaches that they can do and ones that can't. I mean, there's a lot of you couldn't do Torrey Pines State Beach. You'd have to be at a certain time. There's not enough space,
But Joey used that time to say, "Hey, pitchers, catchers, whoever's in town, let's go have a great bonfire." You could have just brought your girlfriend or your family. You could have used it for that, but he wanted to be with his boys. I like that.
No, they put what's included on there. There's just some cool stuff. I mean, they give you s'more stuff. They give you how enough 3 hours worth of fuel, solar accent lights, setup and removals taken care of by them, 4 cabana style cushions.
I love to
one
picture these
clean
guys
burning smokeless pit.
making s'mores. I'm gonna put that visual in my head.
Just sharing the s'mores and stuff.
Yeah, just sharing the s'mores, telling campfire stories.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
No, it's really cool.
thing. Yeah,
I'm gonna keep this in my mind.
Yeah, it's cool. No, I don't know how they build it because it's like this perfect circle that is like right into the sand perfectly. They must have some kind of system for that.
I guess Wind and Sea is like a date night thing or something. It's like a smaller deal.
Yeah.
And in my version of this, because he's everywhere, somebody was burning their s'more and then got a comforting hand on the shoulder. And there's Shildt right there. Hey, you got to rotate. Got to rotate that.
Wearing his Aztec hat because he just came back.
Exactly.
From the Aztec game.
Exactly. Because that's the kind of guy he is. He's at the beach bonfire, then he's courtside. He's everywhere.
We got to get you a cardboard, just like Ben's cardboard cutout. We got to get you a Shildt cardboard cutout. You can just take him and put him all over. Take him with you.
I'm going to keep this bit alive until the first time I disagree with the decision he made.
So I can't wait for. That's what I can't wait
for.
Could
be 4:15 a.m.
Grouchy Craig, who spent all night staying up to watch the Padres play at 3 a.m. Mike Shildt brings in the wrong relief pitcher, and it's like the Robert Suarez show from a couple of years ago, the Arizona Diamondbacks game to start the year, and Craig's gonna be like bags under his eyes, like I'm done with the Mike Shildt experiment. I'm done.
This is Shildt
thinking.
Put Niebla in charge. God, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be funny.
Oh man, no, I'm on the Shildt train. I am on the Shildt train all the way right now. This is my number one reason for optimism. You haven't really given me anything else, but this is my number one reason for optimism for the San Diego Padres. All right, the 12 o'clock sports fix is complete. This is an interesting hour, always on Annie and Elsten, because we'll wrap up the hour by continuing our daily segment that only AJ Preller can cancel, but he could even cancel it now. Hey, AJ, you got 30 minutes. Book a deal, please. Put something out there. Trade for a minor leaguer. Sign Brad Hand. Do anything you'd like to do, and I will cancel Let's Make a Trade. Otherwise, we're on to another team, another speculative scenario, another what would you like? You might want to do this. Who knows? That's still to come right here. And Eric Weddle wrapping up the show at 1:30 today. Going to be entered into the Hall of Champions coming up on February 5th. All still to come here. Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey guys, Annie here. We were just talking about bonfires on the beach. Well, yeah, I mean, look, we live in a beach city. I know you've walked the boardwalk. You've seen plenty of beach volleyball games. You've probably played volleyball yourself. You might have a kid who plays the game. It's a very fast-growing sport. Well, now you get to watch it in action professionally in San Diego because the San Diego Mojo is here. They are part of our city, part of our San Diego sports landscape. They're owned by three-time Olympic gold medalist Carrie Walsh Jennings and part of the Pro Volleyball Federation. They're kicking off their season in February with all the home games at Viejas Arena. Their logo is really cool. It features an osprey, a once endangered animal, and the embodiment of a strong, powerful presence, which is what this team aims to be. So I'm really excited to see these games, and this is your chance to become a season ticket holder of the San Diego Mojo during their inaugural season. Receive special VIP perks while you enjoy every moment of the action from your very own seat. Mark your calendars for the home opener on February 23rd at Viejas Arena. Reserve your spot today. Visit San Diego Mojo VB.com. That's San Diego Mojo VB.com.
.1224 on the Fan. It is Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Gwen and Chris check in at 2 o'clock. The Scraby Show from 6 to 7. That's your Monday through Friday order. Of course, starting off with Ben and Woods from 6 to 10. And then on Saturday, make sure you check out Braden's new show, The Braden Soprano Show, which will be Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., all the way until the Super Bowl, at which point it will switch to Sundays, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., leading you into, of course, all the baseball that'll be happening day after day here on the home of the Padres, 97.3 The Fan. All right. What now?
Well, I mean, I hate to go back to the bonfires, but I will just say someone just sent me a picture of it, and it looks really cool. All the guys sitting in that bonfire ring. I mean, I got to say, it's pretty nice. We need to see if Odyssey can do a little bonfire host.
We were talking to the boss man just before the show today, and I thought he was actually proposing like a group get together.
I know he stopped us in the
and I was
hall.
like, when are we going to do? Are we going to do this at 5 a.m, or are we going to do it at 7 at night? Because otherwise, I don't think we get to do
that. That is the benefit of being local all day. No more every week meetings that we used to have. Every Wednesday, we'd have to have an all staff meeting in the morning, like during the time slot that was the previous Jim Rome time slot. We had to get the meeting in, and I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore.
Me too. I used,
So
I
was
just think
Gwen
about
and
the weekly
Chris.
staff meetings we had with Sockers, and I always got a good breakfast out of that. So not going to complain.
We didn't get breakfast out of it.
That's a drag. Here's where I want to go. This segment, Let's Make a Trade, is next segment. We will deal with that when we get there. A lot of people were piling on a particular comment that was made by Angels erstwhile third baseman Anthony Rendon on a podcast that he went on like weeks ago. But you know how social media works. It's when you get aggregated that counts, not when you actually did it. And a couple of weeks later, somebody found Anthony Rendon being asked if you could change one thing, if you were the commissioner, or God for a day, whatever the setup of the question was, what would you do to change baseball? And his answer was, I would shorten the season. The season's too long, man. And of course, Annie, that led to everyone piling on Anthony Rendon, because for Anthony Rendon, a 60-game season is too long. He hasn't made it there pretty much since he was with the Nationals.
Been injured quite a bit.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. He's making $235,000 per game, according to Sam Bloom, who covers the Angels, and he plays in 36.8% of those games. So the guy delivering the message, probably not a good fit on this one. The message, I don't mind.
Yeah.
And his opinion, I don't mind.
And, some of his teammates came out later. I saw, like flashback to this, including going to the level of saying Anthony Rendon hates baseball. Like, he just really doesn't like the game. He just happens to be really good at it. And so he's making a ton of money doing it. So he keeps doing it, but he's not actually happy in what he's doing. And it's not for me to worry about. We just talked a segment ago about, assiduously trying not to be the Angels. The Angels are the Angels for deals like that, for buying top market and overpaying and overextending a player who maybe if they had talked to him long enough, they would have found out he didn't even really like what he did for a living. And now they're stuck with him.
And now he's getting older and he's probably like, hey, I could use some fewer games than even when I'm playing. Let's shorten this puppy up. But I actually do believe that there are other players who feel the same way.
Well, that's the sneaky problem with piling on Anthony Rendon on this comment. He's right. He's actually right. And
100%.
And he's right on multiple levels, even levels he probably doesn't realize at this point, because there is an aspect of baseball that I think a lot of people would agree is broken, which is we have expanded the playoff field, but we've not dramatically expanded the playoff itself. And so you're taking all these teams and first off, putting them in a best of three sifter, which is meaningless. A best of three series in baseball is truly meaningless. If you don't agree, watch the season, because every weekend something will happen. The A's won 7 in a row at one point in the season. The Royals can come in and win a series over the first place team. And it's not only not unusual, it's normal.
Right.
That's the way baseball works. My favorite abiding phrase from Padres Hot Tub, you'll hear me say it 1,000 times once the season starts, Annie, but let me introduce it to you now. Baseball is stupid and no one should watch. Every game is meaningless, essentially. Every game has something. The ball, this one looped in just fair. This one looped just foul. Oh, your back cracked this time. It's a game we all love, but inherently, whenever we get worked up about it, it's like, come on, don't be stupid. It's one game out of 162. Each individual event in baseball is essentially meaningless.
So are you saying tune in maybe the last 2 weeks of the season or the last month or playoffs?
It's tongue in cheek. It's a joke. I mean, no one should watch because everyone should listen to 97.3 The Fan.
That's right.
And you don't have to watch. And you can watch too.
Plus,
where are you going to watch anyway? We don't even know. But.
Right, but you shouldn't get.
It's dumb to watch, but it's great to listen to.
Doesn't define a season.
Yeah, it's a
trend does.
It's actually a phrase you'll find. It can be used in many, many different ways. I mean, so many silly things happen in the sport.
Oh, it's crazy.
You can't live and die on the game. It's not like, football, you got 16 weeks and you actually like live and die on these games, because one loss puts you back big time and one win really puts you forward big time. I mean, if you do that in baseball, you're going to make it through the season. You're going to be you're going to be spent. You're going to be like, I can't do this anymore.
So a simple fix for Major League Baseball would be to lop 18 games off the schedule, go down to 144. which is still a gross number of games. I mean, it's literally a gross number of games.
100? Are we? 100 is too low, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, 140, 145, 120
sounds
maybe
good to me.
130.
Because here's the thing. If you lopped off 18 games, you're pretty much getting rid of 3 weeks of the baseball regular season, which means you could start the baseball postseason in September.
Which is when you need to start the postseason.
Because you have the chance to continue to captivate the public. You have a chance to counter program, letting the NFL get rolling with an entire month of results before now you're playing Tuesday 10 a.m. games on Peacock and trying to grow the sport that way. But most important of all, and this should apply, now I should be making friends all over the sport of baseball with this, you can get rid of that ridiculous first round. With best of 3 sifters, go 7 games. 7, all the way, maybe 5 for the wild card.
You can do 5.
5, 7, 7, 7.
Simple.
And all of a sudden, every excuse in the world is out the door for the Dodgers and the Braves and the Astros or whichever number 1 team, the Mets decides to kick the bucket in a particular year. They can all very fairly say right now, this system is messed up. We get this randomized team that comes at us. We've played for 6 months to get to our 102 wins. And the result of that is we sit for 5 days. This randomizer series happens. A team spits out of that red hot and excited. They jump into our ballpark, and now we have 2 games at home. And if we don't win both of them, we're messed up. The odds of us getting home are really low.
Yeah.
Right? So make it 7. No more excuses. No more excuses. Now you go 1-1, big deal. You got 5 games left to fix things up.
Should be a best of 5 series for the playoffs, unless you want to expand the playoffs and eliminate the bye altogether, which I'm not opposed to either. Every league's got 16 teams in the playoffs, with the exception of the NFL, just because of health and safety. But I would imagine they're probably going to add more because you know how the NFL is. But hockey does it, the NBA does it. Baseball is the only sport that you can literally play every single day, yet they're the ones that have the smallest postseason. They don't play like they put way too much emphasis on the regular season instead of the postseason. They lose all their momentum against all the other sports when it comes to the fall because of those September games you mentioned, where you got 3 or 4 teams that are in it battling with a bunch of teams that quit at the deadline because they traded away all their studs, and now they're playing a bunch of minor leaguers, and those games are brutal.
Now, I understand, and I'm already seeing in the chat, hate it, terrible idea, it'll never happen, don't mess with baseball, don't change baseball.
They're going to watch it anyway.
Hey, did you know baseball didn't always play 162 games? It used to play 154. And then it changed, and it added more. And when it added more, still only the division winners were getting in as into a small playoff, a playoff that had 3 series, right? Championship series and a World Series. And then they added a wild card. And then they added a second wild card. And then they've added a third wild card.
There are people not watching?
So baseball changes. It changes all the time. There's nothing sacrosanct about 162 games. It literally, when Roger Maris played, right? Like, you don't have to go that far back to where, there's an asterisk on this now and all of this stuff because 154 versus 162. Honestly, it's crazy to me to be like, well, you can't possibly do that. Tradition. It's something that's already changed before.
You're changing I hate that you're changing the game of baseball argument with the stats of the Hall of Fame. It's like we can figure it out. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. Again, it goes back to our conversation all the time. This is about entertainment. It's not about the sport. It's not about the sport. The professional sports leagues have never been about the sport. It's about entertaining people, and that's how you entertain people. That's how you keep it entertaining. How exciting, aside from the fact there was nothing going on, how exciting was the 2020 season? Because of 60 games. It was a sprint. I don't think you need to get that low, but the less amount of games, the less you have the saying of nobody should watch baseball because the games don't matter. Because all of a sudden, there's a heightened level to every game that you play when you lop off some of those games. Plus, if you get the playoffs done in September, you don't have to worry about these frigid games in November for no reason where everybody's miserable.
That's an outstanding point.
You get to see everybody at their best in the best, better weather than throwing them into the into environments that baseball should never be played in.
I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that does baseball a giant disservice across the board is having games in the snow, having games in the frigid cold, having fans forced to suffer through that. This sport does not translate well to the extreme cold because it affects the pitcher, it affects every aspect of the game compared to something like football, where you can play it in any particular range. But I'm just looking at the evolution of the sport overall. And look, this is something the NBA got right over time.
Mm-hmm.
It used to have a much shorter first round and then a shorter second round at 3, 5, 7, 7. And then it got to 5, 7, 7, 7. And now it's 7 per round. And say what you want. Oh, the playoffs are too long. You got to get through that to be the champion. To win 4 7-game series, you have to be a special team.
Yeah.
And in baseball right now, if you win 1 3-game series and then you upset, boom, you're in the championship series. Like the Diamondbacks have taken this path. The Phillies have taken this path. I'm not mad at the path. It's the path the Padres are going to have to take to make the World Series. But I think a lot also, what is baseball? You said, what is it? The good of the game or entertainment, right? Money. Where does money come? The playoffs. Expanding the playoffs is better. More playoff games, that's more money. That's more high-rated games. That's more attention. And if you're playing them in September instead of October, you've got better weather. You've got better circumstance. The sun is out long. Like, everything is better if it's done a little earlier. For what? For 18 regular season games?
Yeah, it comes down to money. The more games, the more broadcasts, the more money they make.
They make more money in the regular season too than they do in the postseason. That's why the owners hate that's why the players don't like playing in the playoffs either. They don't make any extra cash.
That's
it's
also
like a
why
certain split.
Mm-hmm. That's also why they don't shorten spring training. I think players would really like at least 2 weeks taken off of spring training, but that also makes money for the facilities. That makes money for, all kinds of things that you're doing there. So, and you've got to pay that facility fee over there where you are in Peoria and wherever any of these teams are playing. So, money rules the world, and money definitely rules a lot of sports. But I do agree that not having the postseason reflect the regular season does stink. I mean, that to have a 3-game set is very weird, honestly, after you've just been playing, and you're going to go into 7-game matches with the other teams as you advance in the playoffs. But as you look at the baseball season, what can happen in 3 games? I mean, it's 3 games is like a drop in the bucket. It's
especially
like,
at pitching, the pitching matchups, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be in baseball's advantage that they throw out there for like having the buys. You get your number 1 and number 2, where it's not guaranteed, that the other team is going to have their 1 and 2. But now with like the breaks they get, the 1 and 2 are ready to go. But you got a good 1-2 punch that's better than the other team's 1-2 punch. You're out in 2 games. 3 games.
So Anthony Rendon might have been onto something.
He is.
I just think he's onto something.
He just has different reasons
for
what he's on to.
He wants a shorter season so he can complete a higher percentage of the season when he plays his 45 games.
It's more money for game played.
Exactly.
It's not spread over 162 anymore.
He just wants to get to golfing faster.
A higher game check.
Yeah, again, probably the messenger wasn't the right messenger for this, but I would agree. Most people agree with him, or not most. I would say that there's definitely a section of players and people that agree with him.
Let's get to the fun baseball. Let's get to the, not the Tuesday nights against the Rockies in the middle of June, where you can make up all the ground. Let's get to the baseball where, when you watch the Giants play the Dodgers and it's like playoff atmosphere. The more playoff atmosphere type games, the more exciting it's going to be. And by the way, I know they will never achieve this goal, the goal of trying to get young people to watch. But if you make it to a point where there's high stakes and the environment's great, all of a sudden people are interested, and young people are interested in watching the sport more so than just a casual day at the ballpark.
I think 3 weeks of regular season for 3 more weeks of playoffs is a great trade.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Oh, no.
I would agree.
Oh, here we go.
When we come back,
here we go.
Braden got it.
I got it.
Braden caught it. It'd be a great trade. Just like the next trade we'll make on Let's Make a Trade, our daily segment that only AJ Preller can cancel.
Dang it.
You've got 5 more minutes, AJ. Cancel this segment. Make a deal.
I have a feeling it's going down.
Get
This
passing on
segment
the
is
phone.
happening.
The more
Get
Craig,
passing on
the more
the
Craig
phone.
talks, the less time he's
Yeah.
got to make a trade. Keep
And
it
the
going.
more Proller's like, why? Let's just drag this out.
Let's take a break. I don't even like today's. No, well, maybe it'll be great. Let's figure it out.
That's not how you tease, Craig. You can't say
A
it
great
sucks.
trade is coming. Maybe Annie and Elsten on
Perhaps.
97.3 The Fan.
Tune in to Kickoff with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti. Every week, Boomer and Valenti preview the entire slate of NFL games, analysis from Boomer, picks from Mike, their biggest stories in the league, packed into an hour. Friday nights at 7 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan and always live on the free Odyssey app, presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement.
Checking the Farmers leaderboard right now. Nikolai Hosgaard and Kevin Yu are at 5 under, leading a host of golfers at 4 under, a group of 8 that includes Colin Morikawa. Just down there at 3 under, Patrick Cantlay, Michael Kim, Hideki Matsuyama. Also at 3 under, Michael Block. Everyone's favorite tour pro, Michael Block, is at 3 under. Always one of those fun guys to follow on the tour. And that's a quick check of the leaderboard at the Farmers. We're watching Xander Schauffele for par, and he rolls it in.
Do you care if I put his group on only?
No,
that was the only one. That was the only one. It was one of the only ones left, but the local product.
Yeah,
Script Ranch Falcon.
And isn't he playing with Tony Finau?
That is correct. He's playing with Tony.
So that's a good group to follow.
My buddy had to go against him in high school.
Tony Finau?
No, Xander, because Xander went to Scripps.
Right.
And so I think when Xander was a senior, I was a freshman, and my buddy had to play against him in golf. He said it was he got paired with Xander. He said it was unreal. He said, I've never played anybody so good in my life. It was just every shot he took was just insane for a high schooler. He was like, he kicked my ass the whole day. I had no chance.
Well,
Proud Aztec.
It is time for Let's Make a Trade. This is our daily segment on Annie and Elsten. That is, again.
Did we trade Craig on the YouTube chat? Is that what we did? We traded Craig.
That's cool. Oh, hey. Look,
we traded you. Dude. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know where.
I'm all right with that.
All right.
Honestly, I'm okay with that. The robot loves what the robot loves. Robot want what robot want. Because the Padres haven't made any deals, because the Padres have a roster imbalance that includes wide open spots with no one in them, and a minor league flush with players. Each day is a positive attempt for encouragement for AJ Preller and Josh Stein and the rest of the front office of the San Diego Padres. We present a trade idea. Every day we've done a new trade idea. Let's make a trade is what we call it. And today we're trying to figure out something with the Minnesota Twins. Annie, the Twins and the Padres are similar bedfellows this year in that both have complete uncertainty to their broadcast situation, and both have been cutting payroll.
Yes.
As a result. So here's what I'd like to know. And this is less of a outward suggestion, more of a question. Max Kepler is a player the Padres could use. He's a 30-year-old left-handed hitting outfielder who is coming off of one of his best seasons of his career, which immediately makes me think he's an AJ Preller potential ask, because as we know, AJ loves nothing more than to buy at the top of someone's arc and on the heels of their very best thing. Last year, Max Kepler was a 3 WAR player, 260 average, 24 homers, 332 on base, 816 OPS, 121 OPS plus. Some pretty good numbers, solid numbers. He's a pretty good defender as well, has a solid arm. He's got 1 year left.
He's a lefty.
Left-handed batter. He is a free agent next year. And he is owed $10 million this year, a set guaranteed number for Max Kepler. You don't have to worry about what it's going to be. It's going to be $10 million. I don't think anyone would disagree that in a vacuum, Max Kepler would be a very nice addition as the Padres left fielder, potentially be a very useful ad. But is it worth it for a team that is both cap strapped and with a young wave coming, but in outfield, do we really have like 3 outfielders on the come? Not really. Is it worth it to make a tangible investment where we're trading prospect capital and committing $10 million to get 1 year of Max Kepler? He'll make the team better in 2024.
Depends on who you're trading. Who you trading from the minors? If not top 10 guys, not top 20 guys, or maybe one of those guys, you're going to need something, right? Why do they want to part necessarily with Max
$10 million?
Kepler? Yeah, okay. And they have less cap space. You're right. I don't know. Max Kepler's looking pretty good right now. I think the Padres could use him. This is where I'm at, guys. I'm like, yeah, he looks like he can make the roster better.
It's the kind of thing where, like, the Twins don't have to move him. He's their starting right fielder. They'd have to replace him if they trade him. So you have to consider that. The Twins aren't really inclined to move Max Kepler today because they'd probably be fine with just playing him and then letting him walk at the end of the year and getting the compensatory pick at the end of the year. However, the right trade with at least an A-level arm, maybe one of the younger catchers in the system, something, you put together a little bit of a package, maybe the Twins look at that and go, okay, we can now go sign one of the guys we're talking about, Raimel Tapia or something, to play the outfield. We're going to get all of this prospect capital that's going to help us in 2025 and beyond. And we're clearing $10 million off of our payroll. Whereas for the Padres, we're adding $10 million to our payroll, but we've got 26 to play with. So it'd be allocating, 40% of it into one player.
I think, well, I mean, I think you could do a trade for Max Kepler. I don't know what your simulator says, but I think you could do a trade without giving up too much.
I agree.
What does your simulator say, Craig?
Well,
I mean, I'm thinking this one is.
Let me tell you, the simulator says that the surplus value for Max Kepler is 8.3. 8.3. Now, it's about where Ha-Sung Kim is for the final year of his deal. I don't think in particular with Polanco and Julian up the middle that the Twins and Royce Lewis around too, that they're looking for a shortstop.
They're not trying to take a Jackson Merrill. They're not.
No.
Oh, everyone would take Jackson Merrill. I mean, Jackson Merrill's surplus value is 45. It would be a terrible trade for us.
Right. So you got to go pretty far down the list then.
I think you're looking at either one of the starters that you're not as sure of along the road. Which one is that? I think AJ knows better than anyone else, which is the one that he actually doesn't want to bet on for the future, whether it's Bergert. Maybe let's just look right there. Bergert's surplus value is 5. So you could, but for that matter, Pedro Avila's value is 5. So maybe Pedro Avila and a prospect could be enough to get Max Kepler. It's taking a solid 70 or 80 innings off of your pitching staff that you're counting on Avila for. But point being, it shouldn't be a break the bank deal in terms of prospect capital. It's more of, we've got this very limited resource amount. Is it worth it for a year of a guy when we're normally talking about when we make trades, Preller off-season trades, it's for 2 or 3 years of a guy.
And then I would go back to, what does the rest of your roster look like? Have you filled in the other spots of need? Because if you are going to give up that prospect capital for, like you said, a short-term deal, and he's not like the missing piece, then you're not doing that. I mean, if you have other places that need help more, although that needs help.
Outfield needs the most help. We all unanimously agreed outfield is the number one area of concern yesterday.
It's hard to know what they're doing for pitching, and I feel like they have to focus on pitching, right? So but to get someone there, maybe you'd have to give up prospects that are a little higher.
Let me ask you a question. Is it better to make a trade, including prospect capital, to get 1 year of Max Kepler at $10 million, or sign Hyun-Jin Ryu to a $12 million? Currently, Athletic projected him for a year, $11 million. I'm guessing it's a little more because everyone's getting paid at least 12. So let's just say a James Paxton deal, 1 year, $12 million. Well, which would you rather? Classic, would you rather? Hyun-Jin Ryu or trade for Max Kepler?
I think you need the pitching. I guess I would go Hyun-Jin Ryu. I think you need to strengthen the rotation. I think that the rotation's good. They obviously those guys that are in there are very good players, but if every pass through the rotation is a you're holding your breath every cycle of that. I think that could be very problematic. It's so hard to know these. Kepler, I think Kepler would be a good addition. I think Kepler would strengthen this team. I don't think that's a bad move at all. You make that move for prospects that are lower on the list. Seems like a good move.
I can just see the folks memeing us. Why not both? All right, let's make a trade for today. Please make a deal, AJ, or else I'll have to come up with another one for tomorrow. We are back with hour number 4 of the show. Included therein, Eric Weddle will be joining us live on Annie and Elsten right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 4, this is going to be a fun one. Welcome back. It's your new midday hang. Annie and Elsten with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Halbrun. Craig Elsten here with you. Braden Soprenet on hand as well. We are rolling till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will sidle in right about then with Matt Scraby for the Gwen and Chris show from 2 to 6. Scraby hangs out for an extra hour from 6 to 7. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Odyssey's worldwide app as well. And wherever you are, however you are taking in this show, whether it's live or on replay, we say thank you for making us part of your day in any small way. All right, we got Eric Weddle coming up at the bottom of the hour.
1:35.
Soon to be inducted into the Hall of Champions.
Yes. Again, his story. I just love it, and the fact that he had a second act. And I'm excited to see him coaching now at Rancho Bernardo High, be interesting to see how that transition's gone.
We'll talk to him about all of that and get ready for that February 5th Salute to Champions dinner, which is going to occupy my host for the next 2 days. It's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. We will soldier on without. It'll be Braden and myself tomorrow. It'll be Sam Levitt and myself on Friday, keeping the Annie and Elsten fort properly occupied and armed, ready, keeping the guard up.
More Elsten.
Yeah, more Elsten, less Annie, which is not my desired mix, not the mix I'm looking for. So it's all good. But we are here together for this hour, and we've talked a lot of Padres on the show. If you missed any of that discussion between talking about potential free agent ads, talking about potential trades, Joe Musgrove's leadership of this club, you can go back on the Odyssey app. You can rewind. You can find past segments on our YouTube app. Everything chaptered as it comes back up. You can go back, find past segments. However, we're both two professionals who have been in the media industry for a long time, and had a very interesting discussion yesterday on some of these topics. And in particular, there was something I saw yesterday that really not only piqued my interest, but I was really curious to talk to you about it, Annie. While you were gone last week, Braden and I mentioned on Friday how Sports Illustrated laid off everybody.
Sadly, yes.
The magazine literally no longer has a publishing license. There will be no physical Sports Illustrated, which there really hasn't been for a while. It went online. It completely deteriorated. It's nothing like what it was. But what it used to be was the gatekeeper gold standard of sports journalism, covering everything, setting the national tone, right? I mean, Sports Illustrated was, when we were growing up, where it was at.
Oh, yeah. That's what you aspire to be, or to have a byline in Sports Illustrated, and you would run to your mailbox and, get that edition. So, I mean, Sports Illustrated is the top of the mountain, or was the top of the mountain. It had sadly gone very downhill. It became almost like a blogger publication. And what was crazy about that was people would see some of these things that were written by, I'm talking, nothing against people straight out of college, but when you look at that Sports Illustrated name, you think that these are veteran journalists, and they were not. They were people mostly straight out of college with not any experience, and great for them to get an opportunity, but it was a different kind of feel. They still had a handful of feature writers that would do wonderful work, but they were sadly laid off too.
Meanwhile, yesterday, the Los Angeles Times announced, a couple weeks after the LA Times Writers Guild went on a brief strike, well, here's your prize for what you did. They laid off 94 journalists from the LA Times Guild yesterday, and combined with last year, the Times has laid off over a third of their journalists, over a third of their writers from their staff. We don't even need to go into the levels to which the Union Tribune has been completely gutted out the last couple of years, where now it's down to truly a skeleton crew that is there.
Yeah, and the UT has been operating at that level for years. They got pared down. We got pared down over there, and everybody sort of learned to do more. And that's kind of what you do in this business, right? You do more with less. That's why sometimes when I see comments like, newspapers die and things like that, I'm telling you what, guys, I know I'm getting on my soapbox here, but please be grateful for the journalism that is left, because it is serving a need. And when it's gone, you are going to notice it. And a lot of those people that are there, that are working their butts off, by the way, are doing so much more than they've ever had to do for a much less salary, or for the same salary that they used to have to do. And they're just doing the best they can in most instances, because things have been cut so much. But the Union Tribune, what I'm trying to say, is learn to operate at that level. They learned, hey, this is what we got to do. This is how we have to be to survive. Places like the LA Times, what's interesting about that, when you see that being cut like it is because it's typically those big ones, the Washington Post, the LA Times, the New York Times, when they're getting hit the way that the smaller papers like this, the ones mid-market are getting hit, that's when it's like, man, this industry really, we've known it's in trouble, but it continues to be. The LA Times grew. Unfortunately, they bloated themselves when Patrick Soon-Shiong took over. Patrick then sold the Union Tribune recently to a different company. but they had grown so much that unfortunately they weren't prepared for that type of growth within their employee numbers. And so that's what you saw yesterday. You saw a lot of people being laid off. But yeah, when you're seeing a Dodgers beat reporter get laid off 2 weeks before spring training starts, you feel for the kid because it's not him. There's a union that decides. It's like based on seniority, things like that. And they've got other writers there that are doing other things that they can say, hey, you used to cover the Dodgers back in the day. Go slide in there. You can cover them again. Grumble, grumble. Okay, I'll do it because I want to keep my job. But it's a very sad state for the industry.
So one of the things when we sign up with Odyssey, another legacy traditional media company, is that they just like auto subscribe us to some mailing lists. One of those is Barrett Sports Media, which we get like every day a new email. And listen, frankly, there's sometimes very interesting, if insidery, topics in there. But 2 days ago, or yesterday, pardon me, a guy named Dimitri Ravenos put up a column which says, headline, Sports Illustrated collapse proves there's never been a better time for the little guy, and drives at what I think is this fascinating new dynamic. And it is absolutely a big part of sports media, not just media in general, but sports media, where the old version of these legacy places that were gatekeepers, you got to be able to get into the room. To be on 97.3, you've got to be able to get into this room, right? You've got to be able to earn the favor of the company, the program director. You have to be qualified at a level and get through all of the process to earn this microphone. And then we get the opportunity to crack this mic for 20 hours a week. It's something absolutely a privilege that I take very seriously, but it's not the only way to have your voice heard.
Oh, in this day and age, certainly not.
By any means.
Right.
It's not the only way to have your voice heard. There are good writers writing at the UT, writing at LA Times, but I don't think the best writers about the Padres write for the Union Tribune. I don't. I think that some of the best writing comes from the people. I'll give an example. Letters to AJ. The blog Letters to AJ put together some of the smartest, most incisive, positive, evaluative commentary last year for Padres baseball, and can now, via a Substack or a Patreon, offer people who find that writing valuable the opportunity to support the writing with a few dollars of their own. And the more that this has happened, it started all the way back, blogs in the early 2000s, podcasts in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Then in 2020, everyone had a podcast. But now we're in this new era where the traditional gatekeeper jobs are not only fewer and fewer, they are literally being chipped away by the bosses. They are, in the case of Sports Illustrated, disappearing entirely. SI was bought, and that was one of the points that this article made. SI was bought by a group that had absolutely no interest in journalism, a company called Authentic Brands. They purchased Sports Illustrated in 2019. Their goal was to take the name SI, put it on hotels, put it on sportswear, put it on a ticketing website. They've done that. The name is still out there, but now the actual journalism, it's gone. So these top spots that used to be where everyone aspired to are disappearing. At the same time, anyone with a qualified ability can now self-generate the type of media that can eventually be the best thing within a market. It's a unique time, and that's the point of this article, which is what I was so curious to talk to you about. It's a great time to be the little guy, and it's really a terrible time to be in the old way of doing things.
Okay, well, first I will address, I completely disagree with you. I respect your opinion. I completely disagree with you that some of the best writing on the Padres did not come from the UT. Certainly wonderful writing as well. Great writing from The Athletic, from MLB.com, but you don't have the writers that are covering the Padres for the UT, it is full-time, 24/7.
Sure.
You're getting every piece of news. You're getting in-depth features. You're getting stuff that goes beyond the box scores. You're getting stuff that goes beyond the analytics. Who is doing that if not for the journalists that are out there? So you're just going to depend on team access media, I suppose, or what they want to put out in a press release or what they want to put out on their Twitter or things like that, that you are supposed to be spoon-fed and then take and say, well, that is the news of the team. You don't get the journalism that people have. And I know even me coming up in this industry, I had great editors that kicked my ass, that just ripped me apart to make me a good journalist. And that's what you need. And that's what all of us have gone through that are in that position. And I believe that there's room for both. It is a more lucrative time to be in the position that you're talking about, starting your own, having your own voice, sharing your own opinion about this team. But that opinion is still not news. You're still missing the news part. In fact, a lot of the podcasts and a lot of the blogs are aggregating all of the news that the beat writers do, that the journalists do. You're just taking it and passing it off. And yes, putting your opinion in. No, we love that. Of course, the reason that you write and the reason that you do things is for other people to hopefully read it and talk about it. So I'm certainly not bagging on that, but I'm saying, how would you get that news? How would you get that information if not for the people that are trained and that have gone through? Hopefully it's changing now. Now I think that those jobs that used to be, like you said, so esteemed, that you would have to work so hard to get a job as a beat writer in a professional sports team, or as a features writer or things like that, a columnist, those jobs are going to less qualified people. I'm saying not unqualified people, but less qualified. But yeah, I just think that they're two different peas in a pod. I love listening to people's podcasts. I love getting the opinions. I love hearing other people's thoughts and seeing some of the intrepid and creative ways that there are people out there that are looking up the stats, that are going through the numbers, that are like, hey, this is what I love. This is my niche. And I'm going to devote a full blog to this or a full thing. And this is what all you guys are probably missing. But with these staffs cut like they are, to be able to still churn out the amount of news that is coming out, and news that is not just Pollyanna. Like, let's be straight. If you go with the team, you're just going to get the positive, guys. So I really think that there's a place for both. And unfortunately, the place for that news part is dying. And it is a sad thing. I don't know how it's going to end up shaking out. But think about it beyond sports. Sports is such an entertainment thing for everybody. It's a luxury. I mean, sports is really a luxury, guys. And we all know that. But when you look at hot topics, you look at things that are real issues for people. You look at the Watergates, the spotlights, the things that the Boston Globe, the Boston Globe and the Washington Post, and stories that we would never know about if not for the resources devoted to them. If you don't have anyone uncovering those rocks, it's just gonna.
Well, and as I hear your reaction, it occurred to me that it could have easily been perceived that I was like taking a shot at either AC or Jeff Sanders or the folks who write at the Union Tribune. And it is absolutely not my intention to do so. In fact, I will straight up say that AC's daily newsletter is the single best. If you only could read one thing, it should be that every single day. And that is something you can sign up for without even signing up for the newspaper.
You don't need a subscription.
Correct. Right? And straight up, if you could only read one thing, that would be the one thing I would read, would be Kevin's newsletter every morning. It's outstanding. He puts hard work into it. He goes different places, here and there. I was trying to make a general point, and I shouldn't have used the UT. In any market, the best writing might not be in one spot. You can have a multiplicity of opinion. Mm-hmm. And when you're in those traditional jobs, you're also subjected to the gatekeeper pressures, right?
But as traditional media, I'm trying to understand. So you're saying the best writing maybe is not feature, right? Like, I think that's subjective. You're talking about this. Here's a guy, right? Or here's a person. Let's use someone totally as an example. Not who you were talking about, but here's someone who loves numbers. And so he's going to, write down all the reasons why they should use the lefty here and the this there and the whatever. And it's really cool arguments. And you're like, I love analytics. So I'm super into that. And I'm super into the decisions that a manager makes, which is different, I guess, than maybe a feature or an in-depth look at a player or an issue that's happening in the clubhouse. So maybe my confusion, which could be very confused, is I always go with user error first on my end, is kind of the difference in those two things.
Let me try and square the circle. You can't have traditional coverage of any team without having traditional reportage. right? So having people who are there every day and subject to the gatekeeper issues and subject to the pressures of
There are issues.
right. And
Yeah.
100% that exists. Whereas a truly independent outside voice can be free of all of those issues.
But that's an opinion. That's not news.
Well,
right?
it can also be analytical, and you, as an independent, you have an opportunity to not be, well, hey, the editor says we got to do this. We got 700 words. We've got this many paragraphs available for you, so you really can't get into that. Maybe go put that in your newsletter, et cetera, right?
Correct.
So I guess what I'm really driving at is that having all of this is a huge plus. But the opportunity right now, if you are somebody trying to get into the business, to actually do a good job and then have the good work you do stand up on its own, because it receives, Substack subscribers or Patreon patrons who begin to support what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. That is complementary to the overall educational environment. Too Much Morton's on Twitter, who just spends every single day putting up videos and breakdowns and throwing opinion in there as well. I rely on that as much as I do, not straight up as much as I do, but it's all part of the same soup.
The ecosystem.
As Kevin's newsletter and Dennis's articles when they come out, and AJ's beat and everything else. It all fits now into a pot. What's hardest is to just be in that legacy position like you used to be.
And sometimes for the reader to sift through who is credentialed and who is not, because while Too Much Morton's, I agree, I sometimes will stumble upon certain things and I'm like, yes, that's, I love that he put that video up or whatever. It's still not, what about the ones that aren't credentialed and that you fall for and that are fake and that are maybe not right? There's no, if you have a wild, wild west where, and you do now, anybody can put out anything and you can call it news. As a reader, you have to be very discerning. Who is the source? Where is this coming from? It could be true, but it could also not be true. And that's not to say that traditional media couldn't put something out that is wrong. That happens as well. So
it's happened all the time. It's part of what's changed this, right? It's part of how everything's shattered along the way.
But I agree with, there's so much opportunity now. When I meet young people who want to get in the industry, I always am like, you're so lucky. You can start a YouTube channel right now. You can start a podcast right now. You can get monetized for it. And honestly, the money's probably better if you're successful, if you're good at it, you're going to get better money doing the YouTubes and the podcasts and things like that. It's more lucrative to cut out the middleman. It absolutely is. I just think that you do need traditional news, and you need the people who are able to uncover some of that.
I agree with both your points, but the major breakdown here that I'm picking up, and I agree with, is with the new, because Craig likes to call it new media. Right. That's kind of like new. The deal, right. So,
I mean, it's a phrase.
Right. But that is, it creates a lot of opportunities for people to get reps. And at the end of the day, it's all about getting reps to make yourself better, in, this particular field. I do it all the time, right? To get reps. It's all about getting reps. The more on air reps I get, the better it is. When you're doing, and Craig understands this, right? Because we both do play-by-play. The ability to create and stream games of all sorts of walks of life nowadays and actually have an audience for it is way different than in the past when you're going through the ranks of play-by-play. You'd have to go sit in a stands with a tape recorder and just do it for fun, right? And just totally do a mock show. So there's a lot of opportunities to get into this medium of media. But at the same time, I do agree with Annie that you need some traditional guidance and regulations on what can and cannot be said, where when you let people just do whatever they want on these platforms, it opens up a can of worms. I mean, there's a lot of times where a lot of these new media instances break so many rules that I couldn't personally do because I work for a company that could get sued, but it's cool because nobody's going to sue this kid, right, that's stealing all these videos from all these people and these entities.
We know who you're talking
and
about.
going about look at this great thing. No, I mean, I see everybody do. I mean, all the videos, if it's not any of the TV broadcasts, you can't repurpose that stuff and make cool hype videos out of it. You legally can't do that. It's just a matter of whether or not somebody's going to sue you for it. So I can't personally do that as a member of Odyssey. So that's where it does get frustrating for us, like me, like Annie, like yourself, where you have to do things differently because you have to abide by certain rules. I do think there needs to be some rules and regulations, and there is some accountability with some of the more traditional media where, you can't go out there and just start saying stuff about certain people, whether or not it's true or not. You run into the bots and things. So there are great opportunities now for people to be able to get into this field, a lot of more doors that are open, but at the same time, that comes with great responsibility. And a big reason, like you said, Craig, why we kind of got into this problem to begin with.
Well, and Adam Paul, sorry, Craig, I'll be quick.
It's all right. We have to pitch one more segment in between here and
Weddle.
Weddle.
I get it no, not everything that is not part of traditional media is an opinion, and I should clarify that. What I meant is like access. If you're trying to get into a story, I guess if you can get the access and you're self-regulating as far as like what Braden was just talking about as far as accuracy and things like that, no, you certainly don't need to be part of traditional media for that. And in fact, a lot of beat writers who have been laid off have started their own blogs and probably are, again, doing pretty well for themselves. And they do that subscriber model. And anybody can do that. I'm definitely not saying that there's not an avenue and that it's wrong to not be part of traditional media, but I just think that there has to be some people talking inside to the clubhouse people, to the managers, to the GMs, trying to get news, like things that I guess maybe the layperson couldn't get in there because they couldn't get access.
I've got one more thought experiment on that we will do briefly in our interim segment here before we get to Eric Weddle at 1:35. Annie and Elsten, that was a thought-provoking conversation on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Annie here from Annie and Elsten. Well, listen, women's sports are on the rise and finally becoming more mainstream. They're experiencing more viewership and attendance than ever before. And that's because women's sports are awesome. And we know that. And now in San Diego, we have the chance to support the newest women's team, the San Diego Mojo, owned by three-time Olympic gold medalist Carrie Walsh-Jennings, part of the Pro Volleyball Federation. Guess what? They're kicking off their season in February. All of the home games will be at Viejas Arena. Women's volleyball, an incredibly fast-growing sport. It's super competitive. It's intense. It's fun. fun. I'm really excited to see these games, and this is your chance to become a season ticket holder of the San Diego Mojo during their inaugural season. Receive special VIP perks while you enjoy every moment of the action from your very own seat. Mark your calendars for the home opener on February 23rd at Viejas Arena. Reserve your spot today. Visit SanDiegoMojoVB.com. That's SanDiegoMojoVB.com.
All right, we're going to put a tag on this kind of gigantic media discussion, which both Annie and I agree we could talk, like, even without the mics here for another 3 hours about this. We could do an entire show on this, but I wanted to just kind of wrap this. We'll get back into it next week and forevermore, I'm sure. But we just talked about LA Times Dodgers beat writer Jack Harris getting let go by the Times. Yesterday, he had full access to the Dodgers organization in the morning. By nighttime, he was no longer a credentialed member of the Los Angeles Times. However, he's respected, and we're just using him as an example, all right?
Yeah.
As a very good person at doing what he does, right? Respected in the club, respected across the board. So let's just say that today, Jack Harris starts a Dodgers Substack, starts an entire jackharris.com website, and is creating Dodgers content. Why shouldn't the Dodgers credential him to continue to have that access that we were talking about? As these two things are separate, of the legacy gatekeepers and the new media landscape. I think we're just getting to a spot where pro organizations, Annie, don't have a choice anymore to go, well, you're not the Times, so I don't know. If Kevin Acee, God forbid, was let go today by the UT and brought his newsletter, brought everything onto an independent platform, why wouldn't he be credentialed by the Padres? If not, why not?
Jack Harris and Kevin Acee should be credentialed by their teams if they got let go. And there was an instance, I can't remember the gentleman's name, where that happened in St. Louis. A longtime Cardinals beat writer started his own thing, and I believe they gave him access, and it's a slip.
Derek Gould, maybe?
Derek's still there. Derek said, but someone, I think I'm getting that right, but it was a long time, credentialed writer, got laid off, started his own thing, and did get access. That's going to be organization to organization. The question that I think you want to ask, and I'm not sure, is, well, then shouldn't everyone else get access that is maybe doing a Substack or a blog or things like that, which I would say probably not.
No, I don't. I definitely don't feel that way. I just feel that I don't think it's ever an absolute. I 100% don't think it should be unless you are with this XYZ, you cannot. But neither do I think, well, now the door's open, so everyone should come in. I'm going to what that judge famously said about pornography years ago. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. And I think good journalism, you know it when you see it. Quality writing, you know it when you see it. And that's where, I mean, it's a more democratized system than it's ever been, but it's also a tougher place.
How do teams make that decision? So they're going to have to go in and read a bunch of samples, like they're hiring the guy like a job?
Teams want to keep you out. So they're going to say, no. Someone like that's maybe shown the feather in their cap. They've shown who they are already in the clubhouse. Players probably respect them. They've written XYZ. But look, if you're a team and you're like, we're trying to limit access, which they all are now, that's a very easy chance for you to say, sorry, we can only let in people who are part of credentialed media or traditional media and things like that. And it's a sucky position. I think it's a sucky position because there should be room for those people.
It's interesting though, because it's like the pro teams are like that, but so there's a lot of not really local colleges, a lot of colleges that will let anybody that starts a website or blog cover because they want the coverage so bad in a lot of places. I mean, that's another, they're so desperate for the coverage that they will gladly take it. It's a double-edged sword on that.
But, there's people who are out there that are really, really working hard. I'll just give an example out of nowhere, but Johnny Richardson, Everything San Diego. Those guys are at every event. I saw him out at soccer's training on a Tuesday morning in La Mesa. You'll find him at a Gulls game. You'll find him at Legion. You'll find him that's a guy that is doing the work that 30 years ago, he would have been either employed at one of the legacy programs or at a TV station or at a radio station. And now those jobs are gone. Those kind of middle-class sports coverage jobs are gone. But at the same time, you could do it independently now.
And I love supporting that. I do think there's a place. Of course, I look at those blogs. I follow those accounts on Instagram. I think those are great. I get ideas to places to go in San Diego or things to do or events to be at. I do think that there's a place for them. And the more people that are laid off, that's what's going to be really interesting because there's so many good journalists now floating out there. Some might go into PR, some might go here or there, but some will look at that and say, why don't I start my own thing? And what will be the challenges of getting past that? But you also have to look at it in fairness to the team. If Manny Machado is at his locker one day and up comes someone who I'm not saying everyone is like this, but let's say you have someone who is very enamored to be there and asks Manny about his first question is like Johnny Hustle. And now Manny signed an autograph for me. And can you take a picture and whatever? Like that's what teams are kind of afraid of. There's a happy medium somewhere there. Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And access can be overrated anyway, but that's a topic for another day. Let's take a break. And Eric Weddle is joining us on the other side. Andy and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
E-dub.
Wrapping things up on Annie and Elsten for a Wednesday. If you missed any of the show, you can go back and find it on the Odyssey app, or you can go back and watch our YouTube from start to finish. As soon as it's done at 2 o'clock, you can go click back at 10 and just relive these 4 hours all over again. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano. We are psyched to welcome on the 97.3 hotline right now a man who will be inducted into the Hall of Champions on February 5th at the Salute to Champions dinner. He is a 5-time All-Pro, a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 1-time champion, and one of the best players of the 2010s in the NFL. Eric Weddle is our guest on Annie and Elsten. Eric, Craig Elsten here with Annie Heilbrunn. So great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me on. Great to hear your voices and be on the show.
Eric, it's so awesome to be having you inducted into the Breitbart Hall of Fame. You're so deserving. Craig just kind of read down, a list of your accomplishments. Like you said, you're part of the all-pro teams, 2 first team, 30 interceptions. You had a league high 7 in 2011. You just have done so much, but the pinnacle really last year or a few years ago was when you got that call from Raheem Morris and he said, "Hey, are you in shape?" And you said, I'm not in football shape, but I think I could do it, right? I think I could join the team. Can you just kind of take us through that whole experience from getting that call, discussing it with your wife, and then looking back now, getting that Super Bowl ring? It's got to feel still so surreal to you.
It's hard to fathom that right now in this moment that I can say I'm a Super Bowl champion, and to have lived it and been a part of it and not just rode a team, had a huge impact on that team to help win a Super Bowl, just be a part of that special season they had. And it is hard to fathom. I remember it like it was yesterday. I just got done interviewing at Wrenchboro High School for the head coaching position of the football team, and I see a text from Raheem saying to give him a call. And my initial thought was, he was wondering about Arizona. They were getting ready to play Arizona in 6 days. Any tidbits that I could lend them? That was my thought. And my thought was, I don't really watch Arizona. I don't really know what they're doing. It's been 2 years since I've played them, and we just started chit chatting, and he came out of the blue and asked if I was fat and out of shape. And as soon as he said that, I kind of knew what he was going to ask, but I couldn't believe it, if that makes sense. Like, no way he's going to ask me what I think he's going to ask me. And lo and behold, he did. He's like, "You think you can give us 15, 20 snaps Monday night?" This was Tuesday afternoon. And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" I work out, but I work out so I'm not in so much pain, and I'm a better dad and husband to my family. So, when to end the long story makes it shorter. I try to live every day to its fullest. I live with no regrets. And when you try to say that and live that and preach that to your kids and to your football team, how do I not take this chance and see what happens? And 6 weeks later, Super Bowl champ.
It's such an incredible story, Eric. And I'm just curious in that you're a player who I think everyone who watched your career knows the level of intensity, the level of effort, the want to that you had, and how much you poured yourself into every station in your career here in San Diego, being out there on the field, for what was to be the last game at Qualcomm Stadium, going to Baltimore, being a part of 3 straight Pro Bowls with the Ravens, and having a great team that got close along the way. And how hard was it to think about saying no? Like, how much do you still want to say yes to a question like that?
Honestly, I was more worried about the team dynamics. I was worried about what the guys would think. Adding a veteran like myself who hadn't played in 2 years, like that's never been done. So it's, I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I didn't want to, they were a great team without me. But they were in dire needs, right? Like they didn't have, I didn't know at the time when he called me that both starting safeties were out, and they just let their fifth safety go the previous week. So they're literally like, they had 2 safeties on the roster that had very minimal playing experience. So in their minds, they knew me, they knew, what I'm about, and I could probably learn the system in a couple days and get out there and make the best of it. Did I ever think it would end up like it did? No, I just looked at it. I had no desire to play again. So it was never like me, sending myself out to teams. I was perfectly content and happy with my decision to retire after the 19th season, and happy with where I was. It's just opportunities come every day, and it's up to you if you're going to take advantage of them and if you're willing to see where that takes you. So oftentimes we're scared or worried about what people think or may say instead of just going for it. And that's how I live and how I try to be everywhere I've been, or what situation I was in. I tried to give everything I had. Weddles are once we're in, we're all in no matter what. And I hope people, that's what they remember me by, is I gave it my all in whatever I'm doing, whether it's just chatting it up at a local restaurant with a fan or on the field trying to stop someone on 4th down.
Hey, Eric, I think it was around the time that things began to sour with the Chargers that you were building your house to stay here. You thought you were going to be here longer than you probably were, right? But I remember how much San Diego meant to you at that time. Your parents would be out at Qualcomm Stadium tailgating. You'd have Weddle Way. There'd be like 50 people out there, right? Family and friends. It was so much fun. And Craig mentioned that last game at Qualcomm when you're laying on the 50-yard line and you're taking it all in, and you were always so great to the fans. Like, when did you fall in love with San Diego? Why was this the right place to continue to raise your family even after things soured with the Chargers? And is it still kind of hard to look at and accept that they moved? I mean, you lived that whole experience.
Yeah, from the second I got drafted, it was a dream come true. It was never a dream to play in the NFL because I just thought I was never included in that mythical being that played on Sundays. Like, I just never saw myself in that light. So as soon as I got here, it was the first couple of years, it was, to say it was easy in the sense to win over the fans. It wasn't. Like, they traded a lot of picks to get me. And, a white DB from Utah is not something that happens often. So the skeptical and skeptics and people that thought it was not a good decision, like, that's all good. Like, I don't look down or get mad at the people that made it. It's up to me to prove that not only the Chargers are right with AJ Smith and Norv and those guys, that's the right decision, but to prove to myself, and that's part of earning the job, and that's part of earning the respect. And so much of that is lost. Like, that's the reality when you play professional sports. Not everyone's going to like you. It's up to you to decide what you want your career to be and how you want to be represented. And I'm a California kid, and this was home. I mean, we had our kids here. We were every game. We had hundreds of people at the game. We had so much success that we did in adversity, and going through that last season where, gosh, I just felt like I was the only one fighting to keep San Diego here. And I wish more guys, I wasn't in the position to put my foot down, but I bet some other guys could have and said, listen, this is not the right decision. And we need to support the city and support keeping us here. And it's hard to believe they're never going to have a home up there. As much as time goes on and they've moved on from management up there, which is a smart decision. They're going in a different direction with the head coaching. You can never take away what they did to the city and turn their backs on everybody. And when you have money, when is enough money enough, right? Like, you could have been adored and had a statue built in San Diego if you would have stayed here. If you're talking about the Spanoses, but it wasn't the case, and time goes on. But this is home for me. We love it here. We love the people. I love the interaction. I love how free-willed and passionate and energetic the fans are out here. And when I see a Weddle jersey, I always stop and say hello, and I sign their jerseys, because that's why I played as hard as I could, is so you were proud to wear that jersey.
Eric, one more thing before we let you go as we get up toward the end of the show, but you have continued in the sport of football. I'm sure you met many players in your walk of life that were excellent at football but didn't particularly love playing the game, playing the sport, being a part of it, everything that's involved with it. As you've already mentioned, you've continued on to be a high school coach now after your playing career is over. What is it about football that fills you so much?
I think at this point, since I gave so much, you have to sacrifice everything to be great at your job. It could be any job. You could either be good or you could be great at it. And if you want to be great, then other parts of your life have to take a back seat. And fortunate enough for myself that Chanel, my wife, and my kids understood that and supported me that. And you get in a routine and you figure out ways to make up for lost time, especially in the off season. But that's what it was. And now I'm able to what I've learned over the course of 30 years of sports and playing at the highest level and the lessons learned. Now it's my chance to give back to the youth and give back to the community, and able to be at my kids' sporting events and coach my kids, and that's what I get joy out of now. Wins and losses will come, but when you get a note from one of your kids saying how you impacted their senior year for the better, and that's what it's all about right now. And I'm enjoying it. I love it. Every off season I get asked to go coach in the NFL, whether it's a position coach or coordinate. In college, the same thing. And it's very humbling to hear those requests, but I'm very happy and stoked to give back in this role of my life to the youth in the community.
Eric, there will never be another locker room like when you were there. You were always so great to all of us. I know how much I appreciate those times. So many people watching you outside at Chargers Park with Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates after practices, how much better you guys made each other. So I'm really excited for their Salute to Champions to see you there. I know we'll be talking, but thank you so much for doing this today.
Of course, anytime. It's always great to hear from you. And San Diego, I love you, always will. And you see me out and about, make sure you say hello.
The great Eric Weddle. Man, got us all fired up here, Eric. Thank you so much. You filled up our cup today. We really appreciate it.
He's
there
the
he
best.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he just talked from the heart about
He does.
the situation, and whew, man, it gets you again. I mean, he's right. He couldn't be more right. Some guys could have said a little more. Mm-hmm. Something might have been able to be done. Some heartstrings might have been able to be pulled, and it could be an entirely different universe that we live in now. We're not living in that world. They're up the road. We're done with them. But a guy like that, that's San Diego. That's somebody who gets it. That's somebody who is one of us. So I can't wait to see him at Salute to Champions, inducted into the Hall of Champions. That's the kind of person that we want San Diego to be represented by.
His speech is going to be epic. You already know, and I love the fact that he's so refreshing. He always has been. He's always gotten it. A lot of what happened with the Chargers at the end of his tenure, it was not right. Things that went down. So to see him give back to the community like he still does, it's fantastic. And yeah, it's great to have him in San Diego.
Such a great guy. Such a great guy.
Fun way to wrap up today's Annie and Elsten. Annie, we'll see you next week.
Hey, maybe you'll see me sooner. Who knows, Craig? Okay, but yeah.
Don't tease me with a good time. I mean, I look forward to that. For Braden's Apprentice, Annie Halpern, I'm Elsten. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 on San Diego's #1 station, 97.3 The Fan. Gwen and Chris are next.